What is everybody? Welcome back to Truth and Transparency. Tonight, it is Sunday night, February 22nd, 2026. This is John O'Keefe's health data session that ends at 12:21:05. And then the next data session and the health data begins at 12:21 and 10 seconds. So like literally 5 seconds later. This proves that a new health data session started, and it has to start with steps. That's exactly what it does do. It starts with steps. Now, Ian Whiffen testified, and he made it very clear, which I will show you guys in a second. He made it very clear that it's a combination of walking steps and the elevation, okay, is what's going to give you the flight of stairs. Now, for this purpose, we are only going to focus on fuck the flight of stairs, whether there was 3 in this period of time. What we need to ask ourselves is, according to the Commonwealth's theory in this case, is that John O'Keefe got into a vehicle about 12:13. Karen Reed's Lexus started at 12:12 and some odd seconds. And then they would get in the Lexus, and then obviously we have the Lexus on camera at a couple different points. And so John O'Keefe's in a vehicle, and according to the Commonwealth, John O'Keefe basically got in this vehicle and did not get out of this vehicle until 12:31 and some change. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you that the most important data point in this whole case to argue my position, which I would encourage anybody to go debunk out there, is at 12:21 and 5 seconds, the data session that began from walking and leaving the waterfall bar, it ended at 12:21 and 5 seconds. And then within 5 seconds, a new health data session began at 12:21 and 10 seconds. Why would that happen? Well, because John O'Keefe took steps. He got out of a vehicle and took steps. He got out of a vehicle and took steps. Now, I'm going to break it on down, but we're going to start from the beginning. We don't know what we don't know. So at the beginning of trial 1, I didn't have anybody's testimony, right? I only had every single motion that had been filed, to include affidavits, shit that I've had since, I don't even know, April, May, June, July, a ton of shit in August of 2023. And it was this channel's heavy theory, okay, that I was not considering anything that Karen Reed has ever said, meaning if somebody wrote it in a report, I completely ignored it because I have no idea if the person that's writing the report is full of shit or not. So this is how I looked at it: is go with the evidence. So throw in anything that anybody ever said that Karen Reed said, to include herself, which would come then after trial 1 when she started doing, interviews. But before trial 1, it was only whatever Turtle Boy was tossing down your throats. Okay. Well, I'm going to show you that the biggest problem for me when I was listening to trial number 1 was, holy shit, guys, there's not enough cars in the driveway. We're missing cars. And somebody needs to explain where these fucking cars are. Because immediately when Brian Albert testifies here and he goes over the cars that they have, which I don't need to tell you, here it goes.
As vehicles at your house, how many, around this time, January 22, between yourself, your wife, kids, how many vehicles did you have?
I believe 3.
And what type of vehicles, and who was sort of the primary driver with regard to those?
So I had we had a Ford Explorer, a Cadillac SUV. It's a smaller SUV that my wife Nicole drives, and the Ford Edge, that I already spoke of. And I believe we had one more vehicle that one of my kids drove at that time. And I'm just trying to remember. It might have been an Escape, maybe a Ford Escape.
So all
Someone could have had that at college. Someone could have had that at school. So I don't remember if it was there that night or not.
Okay. So this is what I went ahead and did is I said, fuck it. We'll throw out the Escape. Okay. But at the end of the day, there is Nicole's SUV, which is the Cadillac smaller SUV. Then it's his Ford Edge, and then it's their Ford Explorer. Okay. Well, let's bring in handy dandy Hector here. Okay. This would be right from the dash cam of Seraph. Okay. You can see right here, this is the Ford Edge. And then parked right in front of it is the Explorer. So Explorer, Ford Edge, and then way later comes Matthew McCabe pulling in his vehicle here, which is their SUV. Oh, did it not share? Hold on one second. There you go. So again, this is off the dash cam. Here's the Ford Edge. In front of the Ford Edge is the Ford Explorer. And then there's no other vehicles in this driveway. Just two vehicles. And then it wouldn't be until later that Matt McCabe would bring in and pull in this lovely family SUV that they have. Okay. So people have been saying, Lana, how did Lank get the phone? Okay. Well, I'm about to, how could he have gotten this phone? Well, you guys have no problems talking about the fact that there was a Faraday bag involved, right? Well, we're going to bring in Ian Whiffin's stuff because I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to take the words of these experts. And so we are missing a vehicle, and it would be Nicole's vehicle. We're missing Nicole's vehicle. Now, that's me just saying if you want to throw out the Escape. If you want to put the Escape there, then we're missing two vehicles. But he's over here saying, I don't know, my kid would, I think that was at college, so 3. I was screaming this from the rooftops. Wait, there's only 2 vehicles in that driveway. Where's this third vehicle? And it is 1000%. I've been able to identify these. Mark B, cheers. This 1000% is the Ford Edge, and this 1000% is the Explorer. Period. No ifs, ands, buts about it. So where was Nicole's vehicle? Well, let's go now back here, which is
reason that these flight climb events
location data is still being stored randomly on the phone from multiple different sources.
it is, yeah, depends on the device itself.
In the top left-hand corner, it says 12:05. That's the time that this snapshot.
Yes,
And
in this
below,
case, approximate.
and below it's obviously the date.
Yes.
Okay, could you take us ahead, please?
Okay. There were multiple records between that last time and what's shown on screen now at 19 minutes and 33 seconds.
right there. Okay. So this is why this is important. If you go and look at John's health data, I told you guys 12:11 in 9 seconds to 12:21 in 5 seconds. So 12:11, he's in the waterfall bar. 12:11, he's in the bar. He's going to be walking out, and they're going to then walk to Karen's car, and they're going to allegedly, supposedly get in this vehicle, meaning Karen's car. Your steps start, obviously, he's starting to walk and leave the waterfall bar. That's your ticker. Do, 1 step, 2 step, 3 step. Okay. Well, with Apple, you will have an end of a data session before 10 minutes is up. Okay. And then the only time that you will restart a data session is if something is happening. Like you are walking. Okay. You are walking. And for the data session to stop at 12:21 and 5 seconds, and then to restart at 12:21 and 10 seconds, it's because the Apple is so, I don't know, smart. This is part of what like the they say it's trade secrets, you know. That's why you never have an Apple expert ever testifying. These are trade secrets. But a new health data session began at 12:21 and 10 seconds. And that was steps, not stairs, steps. And your phone, okay, is so smart. The iOS system is so smart that it can tell if you are driving in a car and if you are walking. And so at 12:21 and 10 seconds, a new set of walking steps began. And I want you to take a look at what this is showing us on this slide. On this slide, it's saying that 12:19 and 33 seconds to 12:20 and 18 seconds, the average accuracy is 55 meters to 5 meters. Okay. And the average speed is 20 to 30 miles per hour. Now, I was able to get a clip because I wanted to know where exactly was this vehicle when it punched in the address of 34 Fairview. Where exactly was it? Was it on Dedham? Okay. Or was it on Cedar Crest? Now, what I mean by that is, do you see those big circles? See how those bigger circles are happening? And then they get tighter and tighter and tighter and smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay. Well, do you see that street that's that's perpendicular to the yellow line with all the little dots on it? Well, that's a street that if you actually zoom in and ask Ian Whiffen where the trigger in, where was this punched in at? Did they just pull off the side of the road at Dedham, on Dedham Street? Did they just pull off the side of the road and start typing something in? Or was this being done while somebody was driving? And based off of the phone records, when John O'Keefe writes where to at 12:14 and some change, Jen McCabe doesn't text back. She actually calls. Okay. She calls, has a 44-second conversation. And then they hang up, right? And that's when supposedly Jennifer McCabe's version of events is that she was explaining to John where to go, like giving him play-by-play directions and not just like the address that everybody in 2022 uses GPS. Just give me the digits and I'm pumping it in. And that's just the end of the story, right? Unless that's not what it was about. Unless it was, hey, on your way over, can you grab so-and-so? Or, hey, change of plans. We're going to go to such and such. Or we have no idea what the 44 seconds was. None. We don't know. Because he doesn't punch in 34 Fairview until after hanging up that phone at 19:28. So that means 12:19 and 28 seconds as he opened up the application. And he was able to type that address in lickety split quick, because by 19:33, meaning 12:19 and 33 seconds, so 12:19 and 28 seconds, he started typing it. Or I should say he just started launching the app. And it was like, boom, got it in. Well, all of the investigating I've done is that this is Cedar Crest right here.
All of the records.
He actually starts this application on Cedar Crest. To the point that, well, if you were on Cedar Crest, why did you go and make this whole crazy little loop-de-loop? Why did you go back out to Dedham and make a left? If you're on Cedar Crest, right? So I want you guys to understand this. When this was started, this vehicle is basically on Cedar Crest, and what it seems like is it's right around the same time that this whole new triggered event of walking would begin. Because according to the experts, they will tell you that your phone could take anywhere between 15 seconds and 50 seconds until it will say that command, because your phone doesn't know that you're going to walk before you walk. Okay. So your phone can be behind you by 15 to 50 seconds. And that's very much so the case with when you go up a flight of stairs. It'll be behind you 15 to 50 seconds. So all I can sit here and say is that when I saw the data, and the data is putting the steps beginning over in this area and the flights of stairs being over in this area, it's like Occam's razor is telling you that when you take the amount of time that it took them to travel 0.2 miles, which it took them 45 seconds, and it should have only taken 24 seconds. And when I say they, if I start this, if I get out of a vehicle or start as I'm about to get out of a vehicle and then start walking, okay, for all Karen knows, she's where she thinks she's supposed to be. And hey, well, why is it so dead here? There's like no lights, no nothing. Karen doesn't know where the fuck she's at. And if Karen couldn't act that way though, because she's trying not to say that she's been drinking to the point that she doesn't know what the fuck's going on, right? So what the data says here is that whoever had this phone using this is taking steps, begins to take steps. And your smartphone knows the difference between you in a car, so much to the point that it ended one data session to begin another one within 5 seconds. That's the significance. The significance is that it'd be one thing if your data session ended at 12:18 in 30 seconds. And then this new one began at 12:21. And no, this is literally ending and then starting another one within 5 seconds. And that's because your phone can tell that it's no longer driving. And so it's ending that previous data session and starting a new data session with steps. And that means John O'Keefe would have had to get out of the vehicle, or whoever had this device. And that's exactly what I believe happened.
Were sporadic and low accuracy
And so what that would mean is that whoever then John O'Keefe got in the car with, because now what story do you want to go off of? Is it that Karen waited there for 10 minutes before she drove off? Was she only ever going to just drop him off and leave? What version are we going with? I'm going with the data. And what the data tells me is that John O'Keefe got out of the car, had this phone after being in the process of starting up this shit, and then is getting into another one within 20 seconds. And would you believe it?
values of 1,000 meters, 21 minutes and 59 seconds and 22 minutes and 53 seconds. The device continues down Oakdale Road. Again, was turned left onto Oakdale Road and continued heading down there.
So right here, 12:20 and 19 seconds to 12:21 and 58 seconds. I was like, wait, what the fuck? I was like, look at this. I said, so Karen Reed is driving only 10 to 20 miles per hour. Okay. 10 to 20, that's an average speed for almost 2 minutes, a minute and 50, 48 seconds. Okay. If this is already punched in and it's telling you like, make a left, make a right, blah, blah, blah. And it's saying that you have time to go, blah, blah, blah. Like why are you driving 10 miles per hour? 10 miles per hour. This is the average speed was 10 to 20 miles per hour. I said, you know why the average speed is 10 to 20 miles per hour? Because you're getting out and you're walking. And so that would fuck with your 40 miles per hour driving, or your 35. Well, Lana, she's looking for a place, she's looking for the place. She doesn't know where she's going. Yep. Sure. Then we get to the point of where this is all happening. And this is all happening where Lank lives, another officer lives, all of this.
Between the hours of 21 minutes and 59 seconds and 22 minutes and 53 seconds, the device continues down Oakdale Road. Again, all the...
And there are these little stop signs, you guys. I don't know about you guys, but I've never stopped at a stop sign for 30 seconds. I've never stopped at a stop sign for longer than a couple seconds. So why would Karen be stopping at stop signs for an excessive amount of time? I don't think that she was.
These location points show with 5 meter accuracy. They show consistent cadence, consistent pattern to the road. And again, we see a cluster where we see the device come to a slow or a stop for a stop sign.
What happens at the 12:20 mark of the night? At the 12:20 mark of the night, well, we're going to get into a lie here. Okay, so Higgins says that he gets to the house first, and he supposedly goes in the driveway, okay, and drags back and pulls back, the snow, that there's no snow. You guys, everybody cannot park in the same spot. All right. So he said that he cleared a spot for Brian and his wife to park in, which would have had to have been if they're in the Ford Edge, right? It has to be the one that's behind the Explorer. Okay. Well, guess what? That's where Jen McCabe says that she pulled the fuck up. They pulled into that. They were on the closest side to the sidewalk. Okay. Where does Allie McCabe say that she pulls in? The same fucking spot. Okay. Where does Higgins go and park? Nobody knows. And then Higgins is saying, I parked right in front of the mailbox. I believe that you did, buddy, but you didn't park there until after 12:30. Which is after Richie and those people had come and gone. Because who do I actually believe was the female that was in the vehicle that was out there, the SUV? Well, that was none other than Allie McCabe by herself, a female sitting out in a car that was there already when Ricky or Richie and Ryan Nagel show up. Because she writes at 12:10 here. Okay, think about this. Everybody can't be arriving at the same time and all parking on each other. Okay, this isn't brain surgery, but it's Occam's razor, and nobody saw Higgins's vehicle. Nobody. Well, because it wasn't there. Well, why wasn't it there, Lana? Because, well, Ryan Nagel says that he texts his sister at 12:23. 12:23. So if you want to go by math, 12:23. Well, guess what? Karen Reed, if she's in this vehicle, doesn't get there until after 12:23. At 12:24 and 29 seconds is this vehicle arriving that has the Waze. 12:24 and 29 seconds. Hmm. That's why Ryan Nagel had to have his testimony say that I texted her here before I actually got there. What? Who the fuck does that? Here. Okay. So you decided to text her here when you're on Cedar Crest. Probably even, if not Dedham. Because, yeah, I didn't arrive yet, though. And then when Ricky or Richie testified, whatever the fuck his name is, when he testified in trial 1, he said nobody was waving me on, or nobody, I didn't wave anybody on, and they didn't come from Cedar Crest, okay, to go in front of us, and then I followed that person. No, he said, I don't remember anything like that at all. I just turned, and when I pulled up there, there was a vehicle that was already there that was parked, you know, up against the curb where the house is, in front of the mailbox. And then everybody's had the same testimony that when they passed that vehicle, it was just a single, there was only one person in the vehicle, and it was a female. And that the dome lights were on. Well, go check the waterfall, not the waterfall bar, but the go check the Canton Library video again. And there's going to be a couple different times that you will see a metallic gray Jeep, 4-door Jeep, that literally pulls out right in front of when the McCabe's are actually going through the intersection. Okay. Apple would not be in business if you're going to sit here and tell me that John O'Keefe got into a vehicle at 12:13 a.m. and that he does not get out of his vehicle until 12:31 and some change, and yet his phone is looking like 4th of July, lighting up with all this fucking shit that's saying that you're taking steps and you're going up flights of stairs. This would be the most inaccurate shit ever. Like, ridiculous. It is my belief that Karen had never been to 34 Fairview. Karen doesn't know 34 Fairview. And if John is just giving where to go to begin with, because they're going somewhere else first before then they go over there, and why I believe that that's the case is because somebody by the name of Carrie Ann was interviewed. Carrie Ann Kieran, okay? And Christopher Kieran were interviewed in the Karen Reed case. And on Friday, January 28th, 2022, Carrie Ann and Christopher went to the Junction Bar and then a high school basketball game. And then to a guy's name, his house was Brian Hamilton's house for the rest of the night. Multiple people were having parties. This is what they did. Carrie Ann stated that Karen texted her at approximately 6 p.m. that night telling her that she might be solo. Karen later texted Carrie Ann she was going to CF McCarthy's to meet John and friends. At approximately 9:04, which would have been at the waterfall or at the McCarthy's at 9:04, Karen texted Carrie Ann to let her know, hey, let me know where you end up. Let me know where you end up. So people were having house parties all over in that area. Now, something that should be very interesting to everybody should be the fact that when her husband was interviewed, Christopher, he said that the last time he saw John and Karen was January 15th. Christopher and Carrie Ann went to John's house to watch the Patriots playoff game. That's the one that Higgins was at, but he didn't get there till later. Christopher stated that there was nothing unusual about the night. Everyone had some drinks and watched the game. Christopher left around 10 p.m. with his brother, and I'm curious if his brother's gay Jeff or not, and went home. So I was like, wait, the husband Christopher left and went home? And he says, yeah, Carrie Ann stayed at John's to play cards and then took an Uber home. I said, you know what? We've not talked about an Uber at all yet. Why don't everybody go back and replay the Waterfall Bar videotape when you see Higgins leaving and Albert's leaving, okay? Higgins is in front of the guy from the band that has the big guitar case. And right after they all walk out, I always thought to myself, you know, did anybody get an Uber that night? I think that it would behoove Karen Reed to do a Deuce Tecum subpoena and ask for every single person's to go get the third party Uber and Lyft and look at their Uber history and Lyft history and see if there was anything on that night. To include the address 34 Fairview. To include the address, the Waterfall Bar. When they were walking out, there is a sedan that literally pulls out. Like you would have thought one of those parties would have gotten into a sedan, but it's like, Higgins, where would the sedan would have came from? Also, if you don't have Higgins's Jeep anywhere on the premises, it's just always been said that Higgins and Brian Albert drove separately from the Hilly. Why would you ever do that? If this is just something that they normally do, is just, hey, my wife's going to stay and hang out and play cards, the girl and the guy from this Carrie Ann Christopher relationship, and he's just going to leave. That was the same night that Higgins was there and got kissed. Anyways.
"24 minutes and 29 seconds, traveling at 12.1 miles an hour. 24 minutes and 30 seconds, traveling at 11.5. 24 minutes and 31 seconds, traveling at 10.4. 24 minutes and 32 seconds, traveling at 8.9. 24 minutes and 33 seconds, traveling at 7. 24 minutes, 34 seconds, traveling at 5.2. 24 minutes and 35 seconds, traveling.
As John,
Things the user has chosen is constantly trying to find this location and recording it in this database, partly for the purposes of identifying frequent locations.
Right here. 12:27 and 35 seconds to 12:38 and 15 seconds. The average accuracy is 1,414 meters. What was that, Lana? Yeah. The average accuracy during that time span from 12:27 to 12:38, 1,414 meters. That means that phone could be anywhere within all those circles. Was John not sharing locations? Not a single app he was sharing locations with. Not a single one. Health record activity upon completion is a flight climb is only detected when the altitude registers as having increased 3 meters in combination with movement consistent with walking. Fucking period. Okay? That would mean, and nobody hit them hard enough with this. Listen, you would have to be consistent with walking, not driving in a vehicle to hit that type of elevation and for you to think that it would be a flight of stairs. Not driving at 10, 20, 30, or 40 miles per hour. That needs to be argued. heavily. Especially now, we have no idea who was truly invited to go over to the Albert's house. We have no idea if the original plan was to, hey, we're going to go so-and-so's, meet us there, and then call back and say, okay, hey, come to the Alberts first, and then we'll all go there. I don't think you can go off of Karen Reed saying that she did X, Y, and Z, you guys. Karen Reed was smart to come out and do those interviews like she did because she wanted the Commonwealth to stick with their fucking story. So she came out and did an interview and said that she remembered, yep, John punched all this shit in ways. And they fell for it hook, line, and sinker. You want to know why? Like, hey, if they want to go this route, let them have it. Let them have it. Let them have it. Because we have 11 fucking witnesses that are going to say that there was nobody on that lawn, and 11 literally witnesses who were supposedly just looking out the window the whole time and coming back and forth to this window, and nobody witnessed you blast him. And this all had to be done before 12:30 because she has to be back on the Wi-Fi. Let them have it. A criminal case. Yep. And then we have the science that shows this motherfucker was not hit by a car. Okay. Now, civil trial. We have a civil trial. You have somebody that there's multiple people suing multiple people, right? And so here you're on the offense. Karen Reed has never testified. Never, not once. That means you can't say, oh, well, Karen, that's what you said though in an interview. Yep, I guess I did. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? That wasn't under the penalty of pains and perjury, nothing like that. The science shows that he wasn't hit by a car. Now, she's claiming that these people framed her for murder. So now it's relevant. What was going on with all of these other people becomes relevant. In the trial against her criminally, you cannot go and you can't go and get things to try to bring it into the courtroom that Bev is turning down because it's like, no, you're the one that's on trial here. Okay, yeah, but this goes to our third party culprit, blah, blah, blah. Well, look at what Bev did, right? Awesome. Now let's go. This phone doesn't determine when somebody dies, right? This phone was answered at 12:29. John O'Keefe's phone was answered at 12:29 from an incoming call from Jennifer McCabe's cell phone. Well, where was Jennifer McCabe at when she made that call? Where was she physically at? Where was she physically located when she made that call? Where was Brian Higgins? If Karen Reed was in a vehicle with John O'Keefe sitting out there fighting in the front yard, basically in a car, because they pulled up at X amount of time and, just sat there. Okay. Because that's what you would do. No, but then that would mean that Karen Reed was present when John O'Keefe picks up the phone and decides to answer it for 7 seconds with Jen. Well, how come John O'Keefe gets a text message from Higgins at 12:20? He doesn't get to read it right then and there, but he gets to read it at 12:25 and some change, and never like texts him back, never does anything, right? Why not? Well, listen to this. Higgins tells the jury that, and the police, that he he was in the house with Jen and Matt when Jen's basically giving John O'Keefe instructions on how to get to the house. And I said, that's flat out not possible. Flat out not possible. Because that call originated in a vehicle. And how do I know that? Because of the data on Jen McCabe's phone. That call originated when she was driving and getting almost to Fairview, and it originated in her vehicle. Okay. Then the watch only takes the steps, not the phone. Okay. Then the watch only takes the steps, meaning when she gets out of that vehicle, the SUV, her watch takes steps, not her phone. And the watch starts walking before the phone call is terminated. So it seems like somebody else would have been doing the talking in the vehicle. In the vehicle, okay? In that SUV, because Jen got out of the car. Now, when Brian Albert testifies under oath and says when he walked into the house, the only people that were inside that house were Colin, his son, and then Sarah and Julie. This is really important. And that that means that he walks in, his wife, his daughter, he has no idea where Higgins parked, okay, because he goes in and Higgins isn't in there. But when Higgins testifies, he testifies that when he walked in that house, who was in that house? He told the officers in an interview, and he said, when I went in there, Jen McCabe and Matt McCabe were inside the house. And I said, exactly, they were, weren't they? Because you sat out in your fucking car outside, or wherever the hell you were, saying, you coming here, you sat in a vehicle outside because you wanted to talk to John before he ever walked in that house. You wanted to have words with him. And I would too, because I would want to let him know that his girl's a hoe. Okay. No knock on Karen Reed at all. I'm just saying, like, hey, I'm not getting in the middle of this shit. Like, but if you are going to be texting somebody, where you at, he tried to claim that it was that text came after he found out that John was being given directions from Jen McCabe. I said, that's hilarious now. Now that's hilarious. I said, the only way that you'd be able to even remember or know that story is if it was told to you or you were actually in a vehicle with John. If John actually got into your vehicle and drove over to 34 Fairview. From over there in Oakdale land. You would never text somebody if you thought that they were lost or didn't know like how to get somewhere. You would never text them like, you coming here? You coming here? He was in his vehicle when that text message was made. Waiting outside in his vehicle when that text message was made. And then it was never responded to. And I just know when I'm with the person that has ever texted me and then I actually see that they had texted me when I'm already with them, I don't write them back. And so when he would have saw that at 12:25, he's already with him. He's already having a conversation with him. And what it seems like a couple different things could have occurred, which is Higgins flashes his lights. John goes over there, gets in, his vehicle, he's like, hey, come here. Has him pop in. Then they're talking in the car. Karen's not going to mention that. She doesn't want to bring up anything to do with Higgins to the police. She doesn't want to mention anything. And then when she goes to tell her lawyers this, her lawyers are like, we're not even going to nope, we're not going to do no proffers. We're not going to talk about any of this stuff. Like, bury that because they're going to do what's best for their client. They're not going to let her get up on the stand and testify and lie. But let's see the case that they try to say and build against you. All right? Because we know that they're all lying. But what makes way more sense is that Karen calling at 12:33 and already fucking on one flipping out, that's not by John getting out of the vehicle at 12:31 and saying, I fucking hate you. That's absurd. Also, nothing about that house would scream that it would be, there's hella cars around. The lights would be on. People are actually even outside of the house in the front yard. People are running. People are pulling up. People are getting out. People are coming to cars. Like, it's a goddamn fucking Sonic over there. So that can just go out the window. But it would be very, very dark and quiet, and it looks like nobody's doing anything over in Oakdale. What makes sense to me is that Karen Reed not saying, he didn't come home with me. The last time I was with him was at the waterfall bar, which we don't even know if that's what she said. That's what the troopers want to say that she said. That's what Jen McCabe wants to say that she said, right? But you have to just throw all that shit out. Throw out all of it and go off of the data. And the data shows, and the evidence shows, that there was only 2 cars in that driveway of the Alberts residence that morning. There's missing a car. Okay. They said that there was a car parked out front where the body was when Lucky tried to go down that road. And here, Turtle Boy, like a fucking idiot, had everybody on this. It was a Ford Edge. It was a Ford Edge. It was a Ford Edge. Maybe it was Nicole's vehicle. The one that's missing, the one that's not in the driveway, the one that would have transported Chloe and in a Faraday bag, John's phone over to Lank, because Lank and the other boys were actually going over to the Alberts house as well, or the Alberts were actually coming over to Lank's. Who the fuck knows? Okay. But there's a vehicle missing. So when anybody wants to talk to me about how a phone could have possibly ended up in the possession of Lank There's a vehicle missing, you guys. And the pocket Doppler state happens before they could ever even get to the body. Jen McCabe, 2733. Here.
And you see, isn't it correct that in your report,
He doesn't text back but you coming here was finally read at 12:25 and 8 seconds. Yeah. He didn't do anything with that because I personally believe that he was with that person. Okay. Also, ready for this? Why didn't Karen text or call Higgins at any point in time saying, where the fuck is John? I know you guys were together. I know, like, why? Because she knew what the conversation was. And then she knew something was wrong. Okay. When she knew something was wrong was, okay, he didn't come home now. All right. He didn't come home. But like, that's a number that she had. She didn't have Jen's. Okay. She had Higgins. Higgins was with them. Why wouldn't you call or text Higgins?
description,
Section of this report, the PowerPoint.
so there is no statement in this timeline.
So it didn't intrinsically prove that the device was moving.
My question, Mr. Whiff, said this, in fact, was
When I went back and read when Karen Reed supposedly lawyered up to say, I want a lawyer, it was when Yuri supposedly and Proctor were asking her, let's go back over, like, you know, the route and, you know, going there and everything that night. And that's what they claim, at least. You know, who the fuck knows? I don't put any stock into anything they do or say. But when you have enough mistakes, you can kind of start pinpointing some stuff out. For example, this may seem like that I'm coming at Kaylee, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form. But when they interviewed Kaylee, his niece, Kaylee's friend was picked up at 11:44 in however many seconds. 11:44. That's when Camarino, went over there and picked up his daughter. Now, when Kaylee was interviewed, she said that Karen had came into her room at 4:30 in the morning and said, you know, John hadn't come home, and that could, you know, did he try calling her, whatever. And then she's like, I don't have my phone because I always have to put it in his room because that's like a rule. And so then she went and got the phone, and then she realized that he had texted at midnight, but she didn't see it because she went to bed at 11 p.m. And I'm like, well, that makes absolutely no sense because she was up with her friend who did not get picked up until 11:45 p.m. Okay. So then also, it's just also common sense that may be a rule during the week. All right. But I can promise you that John is going to want, for emergency purposes, her to have a phone when he's out and not there. All right. And common sense purposes would tell you if he is texting her, he thinks that she has the capability to be even seeing that text message. Okay. But that's something that I thought was very odd. And that investigators should have picked up on that like this to say, wait, she's like, I didn't get that 12 o'clock text. Why this matters is because in Karen Reed's voicemail, at least one of them, she said that nobody knows where you're at. When she says the words nobody, she's not saying I have no idea where you're at, John. No, nobody knows where you're at. Nobody knows where you're at. No, nobody. That would be her and at least one other person. Okay. And so I feel like she was saying that. So I'm curious if there was any text messages or when you could actually look and see when that text was actually read by Kaylee. Again, I know that sounds bad, but hey, I'm calling a spade, and at 11 o'clock, she said she went to bed, but her friend and I could pick up until 11:45. It's just the facts. No, this actually does not conflict with Karen's story about John walking to the house. It doesn't at all, because John got out of the vehicle over in the Oakdale area. Okay. He got out of the car over there. So if he gets out and then walks up, in her original story was that she didn't see him go in, that he just walked up to the, well, I didn't really watch him go in, but he was walking up the driveway, and it's like, Karen would not know where she was. Karen's like, think about it. Somebody's giving you instructions. Hey, make a left. Hey, make a right. Hey, do this. Hey, do this. Okay. And Karen could have thought they were at wherever. But I'll tell you why also Karen would maybe want to keep hush hush where they went first, is because of whatever they could have potentially been going to pick up, like a party drug. Like, I'm just telling you that when you put this all together, you want to go back and you want to see the big chunks that are missing. And the big chunks that are missing are, how is there only 2 cars in the driveway, not 3? There's a vehicle missing, but yet everybody was home in that house. And I give 2 exceptions here, which then it would mean somebody's lying, which is number 1, that Caitlin actually drove her mom's vehicle home that night. Okay. Because she didn't have a vehicle anymore because Tristan took it. And when she left, she took the dog with her. Or that car was taken, like I said, and dog was moved, phone was moved. We need the cops in to help us immediately with this, because that's what they do. That's who they are. And I tend to believe that this would be more a Canton police thing, where it's like, this is Brian Albert, this is Brian Higgins, and they are very good friends, if not family, with the police. So that's the type of thing that it is. And it's no different than the Sandra Birchmore case. It's the same thing. You're not going to involve a bunch of fucking kids, a bunch of randoms in on your conspiracy. You're just not. Okay. This was cops doing cop shit, and it was to a cop was the victim. That's what this was. I also don't put it out the table, or I also don't take off the table the fact that me doesn't end. It doesn't mean that's when John O'Keefe's life is just like he's out. What it looks like to me is that this phone, because you want to pay attention to the battery temp, and immediately when they leave the waterfall bar, that battery temp consistently is going down at that point. And it just keeps going down at the same rate. Let me show you a good picture of it.
Does an iPhone discriminate between whether it's in a car, a bus, a bicycle, or walking?
It can, but I don't have the research on that.
Right. So as you sit here today, you can't say that an iPhone can tell the difference between a car, bus, bicycle, or walking, correct?
The iPhone can, but I haven't researched that data fully enough.
There's no movement at that time after the car stops. Is there any movement? When the car stops at 24:38, between 24:38 and 24:30, is there any movement indicated on the healthcare data?
Not from the health data, no.
Yeah, there is.
At 12:31:57, does the phone demonstrate any movement?
Okay.
Probably in December last year.
Oh, that was when he did his little test. Let me go to the one that's right before that. His test epically failed. Okay. Over the next few hours, the GPS coordinate and the associated accuracy radius jumps around numerous times between the house and the road. Some of those records are shown on the map below. 5 seconds of location data, 5 locations between 12:38 and 16 seconds and 12:38 and 21 seconds. The lowest accuracy of 18 meters and the highest accuracy of 7 meters are shown in white and his closest location recorded to the house. We go right. Okay. See where it says pull behind me? Pull behind me at 12:31 and 47 seconds. Pull doesn't say pull in behind me. It says pull behind me. Pull behind me. Pull in behind me in a driveway. Again, you also have the option that it's Jennifer McCabe in a big SUV that's darker in a vehicle, okay, and is on the road when Richie and Maxon and them pull up. Well, Lana, how's that possible? Because the whole goddamn driveway is taken. Because the driveway is completely taken. Because the driveway is taken. The driveway is taken. So you have options here on who the vehicle is actually in front of, and out front. You're missing a Jeep. And the time that this would have all occurred is between 12:23 and 12:29. And if you go by the Waze app, then you're looking Maxon and Ryan Nagel and Richie all in the face and saying, dude, you guys got there first. And then this person came up. And we all smashed each other because the Jeep was there too. When you get stuff like this wrong, okay, it's because it didn't happen. Hey, where'd you park? When you asked me the question like that, oh fuck, where did I park? Because I didn't drive. Why was it such a big thing? Higgins, where'd Higgins park? Well, I don't think that Higgins went there. Not at that time. The fuck no, I don't. Why didn't Richie and Ryan Nagel and them see a Jeep? Because they left at 12:29. Because they left at 12:28. Because they left. They weren't there. We all just can't be in the same spot.
An SMS message which goes through carriers.
And so if they're all communicating, right? And the big things that would be communicating here is the cops, right? Which is, hey, Karen's out there looking for John. Because the cops would be watching her. Okay, why didn't the garage door close? What's up with that? Well, the theory on this channel is that when the taillight was punctured and or broke, it happened at John O'Keefe's house. And that was, Karen's vehicle being out and parking outside there and staying there. And then them leaving in Carrie's, vehicle. It's really problematic that all of a sudden we're missing ring footage. Okay. And the garage door won't close. Those aren't coincidences. I'm sorry. They're just not. And that Karen, basically the murder mobile that they want to say, that vehicle was open for anybody, right? To go get whatever. And who goes to that house? Paul Gallagher. You want to know that Paul Gallagher has to qualify himself because he's like, God forbid if they're able to do the proper work and to get the ring camera footage that we think is gone, you're going to see Paul Gallagher. Who's really good friends with Brian Higgins? Paul Gallagher. Why did Paul Gallagher ever go to One Meadows? Go and listen to his testimony in trial 1. He acted like he was told to go there. And then that's when he calls in and is like, hey, where, what we hear now. He was never told to go there. Not over the radio or not dispatch or anything like that. If you were told to go there, it was that whole on the DL. I want to know who Lank was talking to on the phone when he arrived. And Alan Jackson asks him, who are you talking to there? And he's like, well, that was before I talked to the CPEC unit. Yeah, so it was before that. I don't know. That phone call is really, really important. Very, very important. In the civil case, they're going to have those records. Who knows? Maybe they had them back then. But the Officer Good leaving his dash cam on and then the trooper getting in that, not the trooper, but the police officer who then got in Good's vehicle to then go out to do the wellness check. Hot damn. Would you believe it? Just, wow, they can't imagine to get shit right and they don't have their cameras on for anything. They all suck. There's no wind wipers. It's a bunch of fucking bullshit, right? But Good leaves his dash cam on. Dude gets in the car and goes to Karen Reed's to do the wellness check, which they were, because it was like, who's doing this wellness check? Who even called it in, right? But it was all designed and it was all Canton police, the Canton cops. They're the ones that did all that. And then they got it on camera to have Karen Reed's back end of her vehicle, of which they were saying, look, the shit's missing. Look it, the shit's missing. The frame started in Canton and it started so much that the only way that that's possible and so quickly and people knowing about it is being alluded to it very quickly. And that's the thin blue line being oh so thick. The most telling for me with the wellness check is the dash cam was on and it was left on. Good left the dash cam on. Why'd that guy get in that? Why did that guy get into Good's vehicle? They share a vehicle. This is the type of stuff that should be talked about for Karen Reed. Thinking outside the box and figuring out because they fucked up a ton. And when it's going to be able to come out is in a civil case like this, because you're accusing them now of doing stuff, which makes it all relevant here to go and get the information. But depositions are no good unless you know your case inside and out to the point that you know what to ask the questions of so that you can get the information to go to the next spot with. But it's Occam's razor. Clearly, Higgins' Jeep was not at that fucking house, right? Nobody saw it. Nobody saw it except who? Jen McCabe and Matt McCabe. Brian Albert saying that the Jeep was there and he drug it back. And so, yep, Matt McCabe, Jen McCabe. And then maybe right then, did he drag it back? Oh, I'm going to go. Did he get a text? Hey, come pick me up, just right down the street. Then he's texting John, texting John, why? And then people think it was about fighting. Hey, at the end, flagging him in and Higgins going and do all that. I don't think that's what it was. I would love to know how Higgins got to 34 Fairview. Because I know I act like that when my Uber's waiting or somebody's waiting that picked me up. And I got to come back and I got to say, come on, let's go. They're waiting. Let's go. They're waiting. Somebody's waiting. That's how I behave when I come back into a bar to wave people on, hello, let's go. Are you coming? Because I'm thinking that if you're riding with me, I'm leaving, my vehicle's leaving, or whoever I'm they're leaving. Come on, let's go. Also, when Chris Albert leaves the waterfall bar, when he walks out, literally just a couple seconds before that, you're going to see Jen McCabe's SUV. And what it looks like he's doing is he's walking out and he looks to where is everybody? And he doesn't walk right. He walks left, and it's right literally after Jen McCabe's vehicle. And then I was doing the math with how long did it take them to get on, the camera for the Canton Library, which I thought it took a little longer than one would think. But more importantly, he would have never been able to see John and Karen walking because of the Lexus turning on and starting at 12:20 or 12:12 and 36 seconds. Homeboy doesn't even walk out of that motherfucker until after 12:13 and whatever seconds. So if Chris ever told the police, because I'm going to give him the same benefit of the doubt that I'd give anybody else, they're not writing shit the correct way. And so it says here that Chris was saying how when they left, they didn't go the same path I went. I tend to put a lot of stake into what the Katrina lady said about, Karen wanted to keep the party going. She wanted to go to Chris's pizza place and him to make pizzas, So here are a couple of things with the whole invite and where we're going. Matthew left and got into his vehicle where Jennifer was waiting for him and heard her call John to invite him to Brian Albert's house. Well, I thought everybody was invited at the bar. So that's interesting. But again, is this even right? This whole 3-point turn thing, where did that just got abandoned, right? Well, guess where the 3-point turn I believe happened? The 3-point turn was over there at Crestview, or Cedar Crest rather, when she pulled into a driveway over there. And that was right as they're ending the phone call with where they're going and to punch it in the GPS and all that stuff. And that's where then right after that, in just a minute, John's then getting out of the vehicle and walking and taking steps. And so it's really interesting. So, but nobody just learned about anything at 6:04 from a 911 call. It seems like everybody was hanging out that night. and at different people's houses for house parties. So that's how you're when you want to talk about how Lank would possibly have the phone. You guys, it was driven over there. That's what the data shows. 423 steps begins when you're leaving the residence of 34 Fairview at 6:02. Okay, you're literally taking a phone that would have been in a Faraday bag, taking it out, and then here we go, steps then start. And it would only take you 4 minutes to drive over there. Then when you get out of that vehicle, the steps are continuing to be on the same health data session. Okay, and 423 steps was all taken, and that was, when you want to say somebody's calling to say, hey, we're on our way, like you need to get this shit out of here, whatever. That's how I believe something could have been transported. Okay. And because do I think Carrie, Jen, or Karen took 423 steps between, how did they move the phone before anybody got out of the SUV? I'm going off of Jen's Life 360. No, I don't. And then I started a process of elimination of who could have fucking had the phone. If even you want to say, okay, yep, one of them did have it. None of them at that point have the same data that John's phone does. With the exception of, I believe that I found that Officer Lank does. Especially the fact that he went into that house. So did Good. Carrie Roberts actually goes into that house. But I have her going into the house when she came back, bringing Karen back. Then she goes in at that point. And the flight of stairs that happens is at 6:55. And what it looks like, it looks like when they came in, it looks like they went downstairs to the basement. And because you're never going to get the flight until you come up. And so then you're coming up from downstairs to the main level. And that flight was between 6:43 and some seconds to 6:55. But the steps don't restart until 5 seconds before the flight of stairs. And that's why I believe it's at 6:55 at the flight of stairs, which makes sense. And then you're up and, then you're leaving. And that's exactly when you see Good and Lank coming back outside and on the screen. These people they're not idiots. They knew that they had dash cam on them, and the way that they were pulling up vehicles out of the equation of being able to, why wouldn't you turn your car and so you use your camera? I mean, why is everybody showing up? How about this? Why would Paul Gallagher go to the police department and he says that I had to have my regular vehicle because it has 4-wheel drive? Bitch, you just fucking went to the cop. You just went to the station. There's all those vehicles have 4-wheel drive. Why wouldn't you get into one of the vehicles that have 4-wheel drive that's actually police? Well, because it has shit. It has radio. It has dash cam. I mean, and then if the Massachusetts State Police guys want to come in and cover for the Canton cops, just like they covered for the Sandra Birchmore case, that's what they do. The Massachusetts State Police, that team, they're the, don't worry yet, we'll make sure it doesn't, they're the look of the other ways. Okay. But this whole thing with the Karen Reed case, just like the Sandra Birchmore case, it was so I mean, what Higgins, Brian Albert, and Kevin and Berkowitz, and I mean, this was at the very least, they overstepped everything and totally compromised this investigation to the point that it cannot be prosecuted. Karen Reed shouldn't be prosecuted for this case. Nobody can, because it's that fucked up. And that's just when it's like, well, this is obstruction of justice. So it's interesting that Higgins knew to bring a lawyer and to do everything that he did with the case in terms of, I'm going to give you these text messages and I'm going to tell you guys about something. I mean, why did he think immediately that he'd be a suspect? It's pretty wild. But I always say innocent people should lawyer up right away. So this is the type of work, though, that Karen Reed needs. This is the type of advocacy that any case needs, which is, hey, throw out the hypotheses and, hey, could this be could this happen because of this way or this, that. Bring something that says, like, no, this couldn't have happened because of X, Y, and Z. I studied this case, first trial and the second trial. I can tell you everybody that testified in the cases. I can tell you what they testified to. I broke down the data. I broke down all the timelines. And I welcome, but just the ridiculousness. Sorry, but Julie fucking Nagel isn't involved in this. You don't get away with shit for as long as you do by including your kids, your wives, and all their friends. That's what you don't do. And so, no, I don't think that any of these guys would ever allow anybody to ever have anything on them or over them. So, no, I don't think Julie Nagel knows shit. I don't think Sarah Levinson knows shit. I don't think a ton of people, like, they know who they need to make things happen the way that they need them to happen. And those are people that have the ability to do that. Not civilians. Not civilians. So I know that Karen Reed's team didn't even attempt. They're like, you know what? We're not going to waste our time and even go, like, let Gemma McCabe say everything that she said, because we have her as basically as a witness to walking over to the window, to the door, from the window to the wall. We have all, they became our witnesses. They became literally Karen Reed's witnesses that she didn't fucking hit him. Okay? There was hardly any snow on the ground at all. We all saw that on the tape. And all of these people were coming and going and coming. Not to mention people that were just been driving by. And every single person, no, I didn't see a body there. No, I didn't see Karen Reed hit him. And now you're working with a very short window of time where this would only have happened because she's back at the house. And to think that we went into trial one blind as hell to everything about Higgins. How did that happen? How did that happen? Think about it. How did we not know shit about Brian Higgins? In the fact that he literally is thinking that he's going to marry Karen Reed. Literally, how do we not know that Brian Higgins texted the victim and Karen on that night? Well, and you coming here? Question mark, question mark, question mark. How do we not know that before that trial starts? How was that not part of the narrative? You guys are all following, showing up for all those episodes. How does that just get never mentioned? I'm just curious how. Chris stated that when he walked out of the waterfall bar, he remembers John and Karen walking in the opposite direction of his path and suspects that he walked right and the couple walked left on Washington Street. That's where he's saying that. And I'm just like thinking, well, I mean, where were Karen and John? Because then I have to put back in the equation, did Karen use an app to start her vehicle? Did Karen Reed start her vehicle from an app? Because the vehicle started at 12:12 and 36 seconds. Let me look at my timeline again. Karen Reed's vehicle turns on her Lexus at 12:12 and 36 seconds. So I'm quite, what's his name? Higgins is not on the Canton Library footage unless he's in a different vehicle. And I did find an Acura sedan, black on black. And then I did find one the next morning. I found a white sedan as well. Ryan Nagel texts Julie at 12:23 here. At 12:24 and 22 seconds, that's the end of the health activity that started at that 12:21 and 10 seconds. John closes his Waze at 12:24 and 26 seconds. John's phone is locked via the lock button, and device direction shifts to the west from the roadside towards the house at 12:24 and 28 seconds. Now, the only reason they can say that Karen Reed's vehicle comes to a complete stop at 34 Fairview Road is because Karen did an interview and decided to tell the world that she was in a car with John when he was using Waze. That's how they were only able to ever insinuate that in a trial. They used Karen Reed's own words. John's phone is unlocked via Face ID. Now, Ian Whiffen was asked, did you check to see what different Face IDs were able to create the open and lock? He's like, no, I didn't even look at that. Well, that's a problem. John finally reads that Higgins text at 12:25 and 8 seconds, you coming here? Right after seeing it and reading it, John's phone is locked via the lock button. Jennifer McCabe texts John O'Keefe here at 12:27 and 33 seconds. John's phone is unlocked via the Face ID. So now think about this. You're sitting in a vehicle. This is what the Commonwealth wants you to believe, that John O'Keefe got in a vehicle at 12:13 and chose to sit in it. John's like a mover, man. John's like think about that. So gets in a vehicle at 12:13 and literally sits in a vehicle from 12:13 to 12:31 with all these people texting calling. And then right before he left the waterfall bar, he texted Kaylee at 12 o'clock to say, basically, like, are you okay? Or like, you know, you all good or whatever. John's phone answers the 7-second call from Jen McCabe at 12:29 and 44 seconds. And then I went and looked at Jen's stuff again. All of this time, I mean, from 12:25 until 12:35, Jennifer McCabe does not take any steps with her watch or her phone. Nothing. And, you know, you don't need to get up or get down when you're sitting in a spot that gives you the view of everything. Then the time of the alleged collision, 12:31 and 38 seconds. Then Jen McCabe, 12:31 and 47 seconds. Jen McCabe texts John O'Keefe, pull behind me. Pull behind me. Yeah, I would text that to somebody when they're in a vehicle. When they're in a vehicle. Pull behind me. Like, I can just see the call with Jen at 12:29 for 7 seconds because, hey, they were about to get out of the Jeep going, but that call was like, it's almost like to tell him something really quick about, like, if I had somebody coming over to my house, hey, we're already in the SUV. So when you get here, hey, we're already in the SUV. So hey, we're here. Okay, then pull behind me. Like, get out of the way, pull behind me, because whatever vehicle we're about to like leave in and go to this, you know, blizzard party, house party somewhere else. Yeah, it's just really bothered me about how his phone goes clear out of into like a 1,400 meter radius from 12:27 a.m. to 12:38. That's always bothered me. And it's because I just believe it's traveling. Then these. $12:31 and 16 seconds. The end of the 36 steps. Then Karen just starts blowing him up. 12:33, 12:34, 12, you know, just literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then a voicemail. Or I'm sorry, then she gets on the Wi-Fi. Then a voicemail is, John, I fucking hate you. John, I fucking hate you. Then at 12:40, Jen is like, hello. Then Jen McCabe calls John O'Keefe at 12:41 and 10 seconds. It's deleted from Jen's phone. Then Karen Reed calls John O'Keefe, leaves a voice message number 2 Then Karen Reed turns off her Lexus at 12:42 in 8 seconds, which is what I would do if I'm not going to go in the house and be loud when I'm motherfucking you. Jen McCabe then texts John at 12:42 in 9 seconds. Where are you? And I believe that those are genuine. I believe that those are genuine. Because guess what? Right when there's a reason that Higgins always said, like, I don't know, I left at like 12:30. I left at 12:30. 12:30. Guess what, buddy? If you left at 12:30, even if you left at 1, between 12:30 and 1, you didn't go straight to Canton Police Department. Where the fuck did you go? Capiche? I believe that he did leave. I believe that clearly there was flights of stairs, at least one, on Albert and Higgins's phone, and that's where you're getting the whole what do you call it? Them talking about showing them pictures or whatever the fuck they're talking about. But more importantly here, Jen literally would not be blowing up him in this capacity. People can say, "Oh, Jen was just doing it because it's part of like the." No. Higgins, John, Jeep, not there. Everybody that left that house, everybody that came there did not see a body on the lawn. I don't think all those people are lying. Higgins' Jeep isn't there. John's not there. Hello, Occam's Razor. Wherever the fuck Higgins is, John's with him. But it wasn't downstairs in the basement. Okay. Jennifer McCabe has 0 flights of stairs. 0 the whole time that she is there. If Jen was looking for him and thought that there could even be a chance that he was in the basement, she would have went downstairs and would have come up and would have recorded a flight of stairs. Never happens, folks. That's why I threw that out the window day one. Day one. Because Jen does not have any flights of stairs. And Jen was walking all over the place. $12.59. John, I'm here with your fucking kids. Nobody knows where the fuck you are, you fucking pervert. To say nobody knows where you are is wild to me. Jen McCabe here. I mean, literally blowing him up. Jen McCabe texts John, where are you? Jen McCabe calls John, 12:43, 19 seconds. Jen McCabe observes the black SUV pull away and leave 34 Fairview Road at 12:45. That's according to her and Matt, because I think she was more or less taking what Matt was saying, because he was the one that pretty much gave all those, like, when I saw a vehicle pulling away, she also adopted it. But again, guys, when it comes in a form of like the reports, I give them 0 weight because they just fucking suck. I go off of their testimony. If I was Jen, I would have been calling people too. As far as like letting them know, hey, I got the feds calling me. Like, think about it, guys. You guys know that you would tell your family and your friends that the same that she did. So, hey, I can't, that doesn't mean shit to me about her, you know. I mean, literally, Karen is literally calling him. I've already done this before. Every 45 seconds, meaning she calls, it gets picked up by voicemail. She either hangs up and then she just calls right back again. Over. Brian Higgins makes a phone call while at the Canton Police Department at 1:40. Who's that going to be to? That's going to come out. Who is Brian Higgins on the phone with? He says, I left around. He's over here talking about what time he got home. The reason he went and destroyed his SIM card and his phone, guys, we're always going to be able to get his phone records. The location is going to be super, super interesting on where he's at with the curious of what was preserved, but he knew his billing would always have it, right? It's the location data, his health. That's what he was destroying. Okay. But hey, Karen Reed reset her phone, right? You guys should all be asking yourselves 2 questions. Karen Reed never called or texted Higgins. Never, not once, until to tell him that John's dead. Or no, John died, which is different than John's dead. John died is more of like a whatever the fuck y'all did, he's dead because of it. John died. Hello, like John died from your guys' fight or whatever John died. John's dead is different to me. And so when she wrote Higgins, John died, I think subconsciously she's over here in her mind knowing of what everything that's transpired between them, and that John was he was alive when she last saw him, but for Higgins not to, when he would have got the call that morning, Berkey calls him and Brian Albert's then, and he calls Albert back for, and then he says that he gets to the house at like 7:00 in the morning. Go watch the dash cam. When does Higgins arrive there and in what vehicle? Because nobody arrives there at 7 a.m. besides Matt. Well, and I think that he was there a little bit more earlier than 7. It was like, I don't know. And remember, Matt wanted to see the dash cam and when he was there on camera. And he asked to see that Tully before he testified. He wanted to see the dash cam because he wanted to see what evidence there was and when he got there, in my opinion. But how did Higgins possibly show up there at 7:00? That's what he testified to. What vehicle did Higgins drive over to Albert's house? Oh man, that's a really good question because there are no new vehicles. Ding, ding, ding. So where's Higgins's vehicle? Let me show you what I mean by that. If you go look at this new Google Drive and you go to the Canton Police Department, it's the Canton Police Department cruiser cams, and you go to goods cam, and that's the 682 cam, and you upload that. Let me just pull it up here for you guys. If you do that, oh shit, what the fuck? Hold on one second. This thing's acting stupid. Okay. Take a look. Ah! Hold on. I don't know why that's doing that. Unexpected error. What? Anyways, there's no vehicle. Where's his vehicle? Where is Higgins's vehicle? Here's the
All the vehicles were essentially like SUV type vehicles.
Yes, we didn't own any sedans or any cars.
cars.
Now, as far as when you pull into the driveway, the house at 34 Fairview has a 2-car garage.
Yes.
And is the garage something that you or other members of your family would utilize as far as parking vehicles?
No. So unfortunately, we didn't use the garage a lot because we kind of used it for storage, and we had a lot of stuff out there.
Okay. Needed to have that for everybody to hear too. You heard out of his own mouth, they did not use the garage. Okay. So again, they are down a car. Where is Nicole's caddy? Where's Nicole's caddy? It's not there. It's not there. And nobody, nobody made enough of a big deal about it. But now you want to, because you want to show that that phone was 1000%. If it goes into it, first of all, you're down a car. It's very simple. You're down a car. Then it's a problem.
So we very seldom used it.
And if you recall, as you're pulling into the driveway, did you pull into the left side, the right side, or?
I believe I pulled in on the left side of the driveway.
And you mentioned that Mr. Higgins had sort of scooped the plow like in the driveway and then parked on the street. Do you recall where in relation to your house or your driveway he parked?
So no, I don't remember where Brian Higgins parked. I remember him pulling out so I could pull in, and then I didn't really see where he parked.
And you then go into your house, is that correct?
Yes.
And are all of you, and by all of you, I mean yourself, your wife, your daughter, and Mr. Higgins all sort of coming in around the same time?
Basically, yes.
When you come into your house, do you recall how many doors in the front of the house are there?
So we have two. There's actually steps on both doors, but one of them is, I guess, considered the front door with a large set of steps. Family room, but right into the family room den area.
And do you recall specifically which door you utilized on that evening to go into the house?
I believe I went in the door on the right, which goes into the den. I'm not really sure what other doors people used.
And when you came into the house, who, if anyone, was present beyond the people that you would come?
Listen, it's only like a 5-minute drive. That's it. So we have them on the Canton Library at like midnight. All right. They're getting home at 12:05, 12:06. I mean, tops. Do you know how much time truly elapses until 12:30? 25 minutes. 25 minutes.
So my son Brian was home. He had two friends, I believe, Julie and Sarah.
And these were people that you had known as friends of your son from prior occasions?
I didn't know Sarah. I had met Julie once or twice.
And
He loves that once or twice.
as you were walking in, who, if anyone else beyond your son and his two friends, you said?
And my nephew Colin.
That'd be Colin Albert, is that correct?
Yes, Chris and Julie's son Colin.
About how old was Colin around then?
I believe he was just about 18. 17, 18. He's in high school.
So you're still in high school, and
Brian and the Brian and the two girls were at the kitchen table, and Colin was just kind of standing there.
and from the time that you arrived home, how long was Colin at your house?
No more than 5 minutes.
And where did he go?
He left. He just said he was getting picked up.
We said he was getting picked up, and a few minutes later, he left your house.
Yes, I went and used the bathroom. I came out and he was gone.
Now,
Nobody else arrived at the house.
Right there.
After Colin left the house,
yes.
nobody else arrived at the house.
After Colin left the house, nobody else arrived at the house. Now listen.
Your sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, at some point, did they come by?
Yes, I thought you were referring to after they showed up.
So when my question is, do you know whether or not
You guys catch that?
when Jennifer McCabe and Matthew McCabe arrived at your house, was Colin still there?
I don't know if he was still there or not. I believe he left before they came, but I'm not 100%.
So you come home and you go to use the restroom, is that correct?
Yes.
Where's Brian
And
Higgins?
when you go to use the restroom, not there,
Yes, Colin was gone.
and the McCabe's are there?
No, I don't believe they had arrived yet.
Okay. So they arrived sometime after Colin had left.
Yes.
And over the course of
Where's Higgins?
that evening of the 28th into the early morning of the 29th, did anybody else come into your house, or did anybody else come into your house at any point?
No.
Now, in addition to yourself, your wife, and your son, did you have any pets at that time?
Yeah. Yes, we did.
And what kind of pet did you have?
We had a dog.
And what kind of dog was that?
The dog was from Nagel's brother came to the house.
Now, as far as beyond Mr. Higgins when he left, was
Photos that were in my son's room that were upstairs.
and what kind of photos were we talking?
So my son Jack, who's one of the twins, was in the Marines or is in the Marines, and we had put some plaques and some stuff in his room upstairs. And Brian Higgins was prior military, as am I, and I thought he would want to see the photos, so I
Okay. So Higgins was asked about this, and Higgins said no. If so,
had him look.
so if basically, if he's over here, Brian Albert's saying that you've been upstairs in his house before, he'd be lying.
And for that period of time that you were outside of sort of the kitchen dining room area looking at the photos with Mr. Higgins, about how long a period of time were we talking?
Very, very quickly, 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes.
Now, at some point, the kitchen dining room area looking at the photos with Mr. Higgins,
You just hear that? Then Lally tries to
about
So-
how long?
Basically,
Lally tries to say it differently.
the
So
whole night, except I think at one point I may have shown Brian Higgins some photos that were in my son's room that were upstairs.
And what kind of photos were we talking?
So
see that we're upstairs. Now listen to what Lally does. This is prosecutorial misconduct. What he's about to do here is prosecutorial misconduct. He is then going to. He just said that the pictures were upstairs.
my son Jack, who's one of the twins, was in the Marines or is in the Marines, and we had put some plaques and some stuff in his room upstairs. And Brian Higgins was prior military, as am I, and I thought he would want to see the photos, so I had him look at them.
And for that period of time that you were outside of sort of the kitchen dining room area looking at the photos with Mr. Higgins, about how long a period of time were we talking?
Very, very quickly, 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes.
Now, at some point over the course
See how I didn't say upstairs? When you were outside of the kitchen dining room area,
of that morning, things started to sort of wind down at your home. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And about what time was that things started to wind down and people started to leave?
I think Brian left at around 1:30. I believe he was the first to leave.
see, he gets that right. Right? I mean, 1:30. I think Brian left at like 1:30. He was the first to leave at 1:30. Brian Higgins is over here saying that he's left at 12:30 or 1.
And then others left after that.
When you say others left after that, after Mr. Higgins left your house, where did you go?
So after Brian left, I had gone upstairs and hung out and watched TV up in my bedroom.
You had a long day that day, is that fair to say?
Yes, I had the funeral in New York that morning. We had the
He's like, fuck Matt, fuck Jen. I'm getting out of here. Okay, then.
sure. I prepped with Mr. Lally about this
Preppy.
trial with Mr. Lally, my attorney.
Where did that preparation take place?
Yes,
Okay, upper left, 2 windows, correct?
yes,
And those overlook what part of the lawn?
the front lawn.
Okay, front lawn toward the left side of the house, not toward the driveway, correct? We usually don't have people over the house, and the dog's not great with strangers, period. So I was just making sure that the dog was all right with the people that were. Did you recognize what was depicted in the video?
They wasted their time on the wrong shit in the first trial. And that's because they got bad intel. They got fucking bad intel. Fucking Turtle Boy. Call in, man. Call in. Bad, horrible intel.
My sister-in-law Jen's house.
And if you recall, about what time of day was it that you spoke with them?
It was late morning, early afternoon.
Okay. Next. If you go and look at Brian Higgins, the part that you want to go to is Brian Higgins and his shit. Mr. Jax, you got to actually go with the oh, actually, hold on. Actually, Lank, you want to go listen to a little piece of Lank.
With Mr. O'Keefe just hours before.
Yes,
He ended up laying in the snow fighting for his life, correct?
yes, that's correct.
And you also knew that there were other witnesses potentially inside the house because she just told you that, right?
I knew that that was ultimately where he was supposed to end up,
So if there were other witnesses in the house, if there were other individuals in the house, they also were potential witnesses.
potentially.
And Ms. McCabe indicated, I'm going to go in the house, correct?
I had told her that she's going to have to wake her sister up because we're going to need to speak with them.
You didn't think that it was more important to separate the witnesses and not let her talk to other witnesses?
No.
You thought that it was appropriate to let all the witnesses get together and just discuss the facts before you have an opportunity to interview them separately?
Objection.
It is to the floor.
The oldest of the Albert brothers back into the house to speak with Mr. McCabe. Okay, thank you.
Lieutenant Lank, using that laser pointer, if you could draw the jury's attention to what, if anything, of significance you observe in this photograph in relation with,
624, 625.
and upon your arrival, who, if any, of your investigative work on this case, did you learn who that unresponsive male was?
Yes,
And who did you learn?
John O'Keefe.
And upon receiving that call, where did you go?
I went to 34 Fairview Road.
He got a call at 6:08. 6:08, and he was there at 6:26. 6:23. I mean 6:25. 6:08. I mean,
Between what a shift sergeant does and what a detective sergeant does.
Shifts dispatch cruises to appropriate areas. So
2022. Some point after 6 a.m., did you receive a call in regard to a dispatch that your department had received?
yes,
And who, if anyone, called you around that time?
Sergeant Sean Good.
Do you know approximately what time Sergeant Good called?
I believe it was 6:08.
And with reference to that call, the initial call from Sergeant Good, what, if any, information did he relay to you at that time?
Sergeant Good stated that there was a gentleman found in the snow at 34 Fairview Road, and he was in very grave condition. And he brought it to my attention that he was also a Boston police officer.
And subsequent to that, through the course of your,
and then how did Sean Good have Carrie Roberts' cell phone number? Did she provide that to him that day? Because he calls Sean Good calls Carrie Roberts back to transport Karen Reed. Like, hey, get back here. You know, we're gonna Section 12 her.
Investigative work on this case. Did you learn who that unresponsive male was?
Yes,
And who did you learn?
John O'Keefe.
And upon receiving that call, where did you go?
I went to 34 Fairview Road.
And if you know about what time would you estimate that you arrived in the area of 34 Fairview Road?
I live fairly close, so I was on scene by, I believe it was 6:24, 6:25.
And upon your arrival,
I live fairly close, so I was just right there. Also, Carrie Roberts, man. I mean, just like, no offense, but if my friends were to call me at 4:35, 5:30 in the morning, good luck. Good luck that I'm answering.
with anyone else from your
Everybody's just up, man.
department was there prior to you?
Officer Sarif, Officer Mullaney, and Sergeant Good.
And when you arrived, beyond sort of the other officers from your department, what if any other activity or what if any other persons did you observe on scene?
When I arrived, I observed that the ambulance was still there. There was multiple EMTs, and I observed some witnesses also.
And with respect to the ambulance, it's your understanding Mr. O'Keefe was in that ambulance?
Yes,
And did you ever see Mr. O'Keefe on that one?
I did not.
And at some point, the other officers who preceded your arrival, did they direct you to where Mr. O'Keefe was found when they first arrived?
They did.
And where was that sort of in relation to the property, as you recall?
If you're looking at 34 Fairview Road, it was on the left side of the property, about 8 feet from the road.
It appears to be a still image of,
So let's not describe it.
sure. What do you see on the screen?
I see 2 still images.
Okay. Do you recognize either or both of those images?
Yes,
How do you recognize them?
it looks like the scene from that morning. From I believe it's going to be the top one, anyways. That 683 Officer Sarif's cruiser.
And the bottom one?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
It looks like possibly Sergeant Goods based on where it's placed.
Okay. If we could fast forward to the 28:40 mark or so. Mr. Bates, play that. And let's pause it for a second. You want to maybe approach briefly?
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to direct your attention to the top video, and specifically to an area right around this area in the video, which is behind the vehicle with her.
I did.
At some point, did you see Ms. McCabe leave your presence and walk toward the driveway?
Once the conversation had terminated, I honestly don't recall where she went.
Did she tell you that she intended to go inside the house?
I had said to her that at some point we're going to need to speak to Brian and Nicole
Why did you think it was important to speak to Brian and Nicole?
because it's their property.
Okay. Now, one of those people are not inside that house. Brian or Nicole is not inside that house, in my opinion. There's a car missing. There is a fucking car missing. Where is Nicole's car? Where's Nicole's vehicle? Remember, Nicole got picked up by her sister, Julie, and they went to Waterfall Bar. So the Explorer, her vehicle, the only vehicle that would not be there is Brian Albert's, which he then meets them at Waterfall Bar, and then they drive home. How does this get missed? How does this get missed? Where the fuck is Nicole's vehicle? We didn't miss it over here on this channel. We were screaming it from the rooftops on this channel that they're missing a vehicle.
And somebody was laying in the snow, unconscious and unresponsive, correct?
Correct.
And obviously that could potentially, at least, implicate people inside the house.
Based on my conversation with Ms. McCabe, she had stated that the intention was for Mr. McCabe, for Mr. O'Keefe to join them at that house. So I wanted to get statements from everybody who was there.
Find out what happened, correct?
Correct.
I mean, that's sort of the obvious initial point of an investigation. Find out who the witness.
No, actually, Nicole nor Brian Albert had any idea that John and Karen were coming. And I think maybe we should start considering that. Because were they going somewhere else?
Are and interview all of them, correct?
Correct.
And you began by talking to Ms. McCabe,
Yes.
knowing that she was a potential witness at least, correct?
She identified herself as a friend of Mr. O'Keefe.
Who had been with Mr. O'Keefe.
Again, why would John say where to if he just spoke to Jen and all of it was decided in the bar that, hey, everyone's like, where to? And she calls him.
Just hours before.
Yes.
He ended up laying in the
Where
snow,
to?
fighting for his life, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you also knew that there were other witnesses potentially inside the house because she just told you that, right?
I knew that that was ultimately where he was supposed to end up,
So if there were other witnesses in the house, sorry, if there were other individuals in the house, they also were potential witnesses.
potentially.
And Ms. McCabe indicated, I'm going to go in the house, correct?
I had told her that she's going to have to wake her sister up because we're going to need to speak with them.
You didn't think that it was more important to separate the witnesses and not let her talk to other witnesses?
No.
You thought that it was appropriate to let all the witnesses get.
I know that right around this time is when I end up speaking to the CPAC unit because I believe I get into the vehicle.
Let's play just a little bit further forward, maybe another 30 seconds or so. Does it appear at this point, if you can see, does it appear that you've ended that call, or at least your hands are down by your side?
I can't tell.
Okay. You would agree with me, that's all I'm looking for that. That moment, and maybe tell me to stop when you see those lights come on. It may be a minute or so.
Sure.
See Carrie drives away with Karen right there.
At this point, does it appear that you're still on the phone?
Yes.
Figure out who's in the house first.
I will agree that I needed to speak to the people in the home. I can't just walk in their house. I have to announce myself and they don't have to let me in.
I understand. I'm not trying to parse those words. I just mean entering the home and interviewing witnesses. That would be a normal part of your investigation initially, correct?
Yes.
And you also knew that the most obvious place to look for witnesses that may have information about a fallen man in the snow would be 30 feet away in the home, correct?
Correct.
So once you're inside the residence, you walked in the front door, correct?
Yes.
You indicated that there's a stair that surfaces the second floor. Is that right?
Straight ahead. Yes.
Right. Just before the staircase, there's a door to your left, right?
I don't recall.
You remember whether or not there's a door that when you open it, goes directly downstairs to the basement.
I don't recall.
You indicated on direct examination that you didn't notice anything. I'm paraphrasing, so forgive me. You didn't notice anything out of place in the home.
No.
But you didn't go downstairs to the basement and look, did you?
No.
Didn't look for broken furniture down there.
I didn't enter the basement at all.
You didn't look for torn clothing down there.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
How about anywhere in the house? Did you look for broken furniture or torn clothing or blood evidence or DNA evidence?
At that point in time, I never made it past the front foyer area.
So the answer to my question.
He's lying. He's lying. I mean, you have the Alberts and everybody saying that he came in and was at the kitchen table at the very least.
Question is, no, you did not.
I never made it past the front foyer area.
So if I were to ask you one more time, I know you never made it past the foyer. Did you ever investigate the foyer area or any other part of the house for evidence of a fight?
The only area I was able to observe at that point, everything appeared to be in order.
But you didn't search the rest of the house for a fight. Lieutenant, that's all I'm asking.
No, I wouldn't have had probable cause to do so.
And did you seek guidance from a court as to whether or not
See, right here, I think you have him. The preponderance of the evidence will show that literally at 6:55, John O'Keefe's cell phone registers a flight of steps. And so somebody in that house had the phone. And it starts moving right when Lank gets on scene.
you might have probable cause?
You mean a search warrant?
That's what I mean.
I wouldn't fill out an affidavit for a search warrant because it wouldn't have probable cause.
In your mind, there was no PC to search that house, right?
Objection.
Let's move on from this.
Then how did you get a search warrant for Karen Reed shit? How were they able to seize Karen Reed's phone and vehicle that they already dialed up for at 2:30 in the afternoon?
One of the ways to secure a premises, any premises in a normal crime scene investigation, would be to remove the witnesses and animals from that premises to sort of freeze it and lock it down, correct?
If there was reason to do so, yes.
Okay. Were the witnesses in this case asked to come outside the house in order to freeze the house down as a potential crime scene?
No,
Were any animals removed in order to freeze and lock down the house as a potential crime scene?
I didn't observe any animals.
Did you, and this is the last question on this issue, did you do anything to lock down and secure that premises, the inside of the house, in any way, shape, form, or fashion?
Can you rephrase that, please?
Sure. Did you do anything?
All these Canton dudes lied their asses off. Paul Gallagher. Paul Gallagher.
I'll let him have it. Did you see that as a conflict?
No.
You were asked who was present at the house that night, the night before, right?
Yes.
You stated the following people were at the house that night, quote, in response to Officer Lank's question, at some point during the time in question. That's how he phrased the question. Who was at the house at some point during the time in question? You understood that, right?
I don't recall his question.
Junior,
Yes.
your son. You mentioned Caitlin Albert, your eldest.
Yes.
You mentioned Julie Nagel.
Yes.
You mentioned Brian Higgins.
Yes.
And then you added the detail that Caitlin Albert had left your house about 12:15 a.m., correct?
No,
You didn't say that?
I did not.
I may have just a moment.
Yes.
Okay. So now, when you want to go back and dissect this even more, we have to ask ourselves, why would Lank ever put down, says you have to listen to what Good and Lank talk about on the control radio. And it is, Lank's like, yeah, I have a bunch of people that I have to like, you know, basically knows that Brian Albert told him a bunch of names. Okay. And Good's like, okay, so then I'm just going to be writing up my narrative with the people that I talk to. That's what that whole dialect is about on the radio between Lank and Good. Okay. So ready for this? Drum roll. Lank is the person that did not go and he's going to say, oh, we were out of it at that point. We were out of it. Your report should still have everything in it that Brian Albert would have told you. And then you would have also told the people that are taking over, hey, I didn't talk to any of these people, and these people still need to be talked to. And you would be writing up a report and saying that you did all that.
I'm sorry.
Did Officer Lank ask you what time Caitlin left?
I don't recall.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
Mr. Albert, did you have an opportunity to review that portion of a report?
I did.
Did that refresh your recollection about conversations you had along with your wife with Officer Lank?
Yes.
Isn't it true that Officer Lank asked you and your wife who else was in the house that night aside from the names already mentioned? And the names mentioned were Brian Albert Jr., Caitlin Albert, Julie Nagel, and Brian Higgins, quote, who is a friend of Brian Albert Sr., end quote. Is that right?
That's what the report says. Yes.
And then the report goes on to say, they advised me that their daughter Caitlin left the house around 12:15 a.m. when she was picked up by her boyfriend, Tristan Morris, right?
That's what the report says. Yes.
Do you think Officer Lank got it wrong?
Perhaps. Yes.
Did you say that
what do we think about that? What do we think about that? Told you guys it was
Caitlin
like
left about 12?
it was like a goddamn parking lot there. And I just
12:15?
No,
Did Nicole say in your presence that Caitlin left about 12:15?
she did not.
At any point, did Officer Lank ask you what time Caitlin left?
I don't recall him asking that. It was a very chaotic morning, and I don't remember him saying that.
So
Sustained.
Yes.
anything else that he's wrong about in there?
I didn't read.
Colin Albert had been at the house that night.
I don't believe I did. No.
At no point during that interview did your wife, Nicole, in your presence, admit or mention that Colin Albert was in the house that night.
No.
So did both of you conveniently forget that Colin was there?
Objection.
I'll ask it a different way.
Sustained.
Did you forget that Colin had been there?
No,
Is there a reason that you left his name out?
because he wasn't there. He left when we got there. He wasn't there for the duration of the time that we had that night.
Except for the fact that you just testified, you never saw him leave.
Well, he said he was getting picked up, and then he was gone. So I assumed he left.
People say a lot of things, but you didn't see him leave, and you didn't see him in the regular floor of the house, according to you, correct?
Right.
Ground floor of the house.
Right. He was no longer in my house, so he left.
Well, you didn't search the house, did you?
No.
And you never saw him leave.
I didn't physically see him leave. No.
You also gave a statement to Michael Proctor later that morning. It was about noon, maybe it was in the afternoon, noon, 12:30, something like that.
Are you asking?
On the 29th, you later, after you spoke with Officer Lank, you later, Colin's name was never mentioned then either.
No, because Colin wasn't at the house for the duration of the night. Yes.
Folks in the house.
There were some females, friends that were over prior to our arrival, and
But you never even saw them.
no,
So you have no idea who was there and who wasn't there before you got there.
no, I know that there were people at the house prior to me getting there.
Mr. Albert, the question that had been posed to you by several officers was, who did you see in your home when you got there, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
I don't believe that's how it was asked. No.
When you were spoken to by the first two officers who discussed who was in the house, you never mentioned Colin was even there, correct?
Objection.
We've gone over that. Next question, please. Sustained.
If Colin was gone, just like Caitlin was gone, that would eliminate them from ever being at the house at the same time as John O'Keefe and Karen Blue, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
On January 29th, about 11:30 or 12, we talked about the fact that you were interviewed by Michael Proctor at Jen McCabe's house, correct?
Yes.
You knew at the time that the state police were looking to interview Jennifer McCabe about her understanding of what had happened the night before.
Objection.
Sustained.
You were notified that the state police were going to interview Jen McCabe.
Objection.
I'll allow it. Were you notified that?
No.
You knew the subject matter of an interview with Jen McCabe was going to happen over, the subject matter of the night before was going to happen over at Jen McCabe's house. That's why you went there, right?
Objection. No.
I'll allow it.
No.
Isn't it true that you knew you had been notified, or at least you believed that an interview with Jen McCabe as part of an official police investigation was going to occur at her house?
Yes.
You were not asked by the police to join her. Phone that was the subject of a court order preservation the day before it was ordered preserved, right?
What rephrase the question?
Dated September 23rd, 2022, to preserve the phone. And your testimony is on the 22nd, the day before this all happened, you upgraded your phone and got rid of it in total, correct?
I upgraded my phone on and around the 22nd. Yes.
And you
So guys, that'd be somebody's tipping them off to what the fuck is going on.
knew that all of the data on that phone would be factory reset and destroyed.
Objection.
Do you know that, sir?
I do not know that.
How many times have you upgraded your phone in your iPhone?
I'm not sure. 4 or 5 times, maybe.
You're aware that when you turn a phone in and you upgrade it, the phone that you turn in, that data is factory reset, meaning it's gone. It's destroyed off of that device, correct?
Well, I think some data transfers and some doesn't.
We're not talking about a backup. I'm talking about the physical.
They're going to have to go for iClouds. They're going to have to try to get iCloud accounts in the civil trial.
I don't know if I did.
Are you telling this jury that the call that came into your phone was a missed call, or did you answer it?
I did not answer it.
So it would have been a missed call.
I just know I didn't answer the call.
So it would have been a missed call.
Well, I don't know. I don't know that to be a fact. I just know I didn't answer the phone call. I missed the call. Yes.
That's what I mean.
Right.
You missed the call.
Right.
It did something on your phone and you just didn't answer it. What do you mean?
Right.
And again, you're using an iPhone.
Yes.
If you butt dialed Brian Higgins and he called you back and you didn't answer, you would have a very bright red missed call in your call log, correct?
Objection.
Do you know that?
I don't know that.
Have you ever missed a call on your iPhone before?
Yes.
And when you go to your call logs, it says missed call in red, correct? If your wife calls you, your kids call you.
I don't think I've ever noticed that it's in red. So no, I don't know that to be true.
You're certainly alerted to the fact that it's a missed call, that you missed the call, correct?
If I were to go back and look at my incoming calls, it would probably say missed.
Correct?
Objection.
Did you tell anyone in law enforcement that next day that oddly Brian Higgins was calling you at 2:22 a.m. and you missed a call?
No, I wasn't aware of that call.
If a call went to voicemail on your phone, you would get that voicemail, correct? You'd get notice of it.
If I checked my voicemails and there was a voicemail, I would get it. Yes.
That's my question. Did you get a voicemail from Brian Higgins?
No.
Which means he didn't leave a voicemail.
Right.
Which would suggest that you answered the call, correct?
Objection.
Let's talk for a second about this butt dial. You went to bed and you closed and your phone was, you closed and locked your phone, correct?
The reason he has to ask it that way, guys, is because, okay, I think he had Brian Higgins's phone records. But technically, for you to say that John O'Keefe like answered a call, it's because it's an incoming call to him and it was answered. If it was an outgoing call on John's, you can never say that the other party answered it, because it could have been the timing that's on it could have registered as a call that then continued on into a voicemail. And therefore, that's why the seconds are the way that they are. But an incoming call, now that is how an expert can tell you if it was answered or not. That's why that's the best that Alan Jacks could do with that, because I believe of the records that he had.
Yes.
I don't want you to tell me what the passcode is, Mr. Albert. That's important. I want to make sure you understand the 6-digit passcode. Is correct?
The phone will lock after it's not used for a while. I don't know the exact timing of it.
You're exactly right, Mr. Albert. I said it backward. The phone automatically locks. You have to use the 4-digit passcode to unlock it, correct?
Well, no, I also have face recognition too, so we can open that way without any passcode.
We'll get to that in a second. The phone locks when it's not in use, correct?
Yes.
And then to make a call, once you open the phone, either through facial recognition or through app, there are only 3 ways that you can initiate a phone call: favorites, recents, and contacts, correct?
I don't know that.
If you tap on a contact, that opens up the contact page, the contact app,
I mean, in 2022, I don't know if you could say, hey, whatever, call so-and-so.
right? You know that.
Yes.
That's where all your contacts are.
Yes.
They're alphabetized.
Yes.
You have to either scroll through or do a search and type in the name of the person you're looking for.
Right.
You didn't do that, did you?
No.
If you tap favorites, if you have favorites listed, there's a list of favorites. You have to scroll through and tap on your phone at the time.
I was awake and I could have been looking at my phone.
So, Mr. Albert, how'd you miss the call 17 seconds later?
Well, my wife was in the room with me and we were hanging out and I never got the second call from him. So I'm not sure what time he called. I'm not sure what I was doing at that second, but I don't know.
But it didn't go to voicemail.
Well, I didn't get a voicemail from him. No.
So it didn't go to voicemail.
Well, I don't know that it didn't go to voicemail. I just know that I didn't receive a voicemail from him.
So if you, okay.
I mean, we're all guessing here, but I mean, he could have called voicemail.
We're not all guessing.
Well, you are, because you don't know if he left a voicemail or didn't, or at least got voicemail and then hung up the phone.
No, the phone kept going though.
I think one of us is trying to guess.
Judge, on your own.
This is Steve. Is that right?
No.
Isn't it true that you grabbed your phone and made a call at 7:20 in the morning?
Right.
By the way, you indicated that you were awakened in the morning by Jim McCabe about 6:30, correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
And when you woke up, you said you grabbed your phone to make a call. Is that right?
No.
Isn't it true that you grabbed your phone and made a call at 7:20 in the morning?
Yes. But that's not when I was awoken by my sister-in-law.
Sorry, that wasn't my question. After you were awakened, you're up. You
Right.
started making calls.
Right.
My question is, what was the first call you made at 7:20?
Can I look at this?
If that refreshes your recollection with the court's permission? Yes.
At 7:20, I called Brian Higgins.
Mr. Albert, you have 6 siblings and
I think they have a burner. 7:20. Higgins is over here saying that he arrived at Brian Albert's house at 7:00. I mean,
kids, right?
do these people not understand anything?
Yes.
You have in-laws, cousins, huge family, correct?
Yes.
But on the morning you find out that John O'Keefe is laying dead or dying on your lawn, the first call you made at 7:20 was to Brian Higgins. Is that right?
Yes.
The same person you had a call with, or at least the logs indicate you had a call with at 2:22 in the morning, correct?
Yes.
During that 7:20 a.m. call, did you two discuss the 2:22 a.m. calls?
No.
Thought you just said that you told him, oh, I think I may have butt dialed.
Yeah, that was later in the morning when he came to the house.
Not on that 7:20 a.m. call.
No.
What did you talk about on that 7:20 a.m. call?
I informed him of what was going on at my house. We were out the night before, and I thought it was important for him to know what had happened.
Mr. Albert, I have a couple of more questions about the phones or the phone usage that morning.
And so let's get this straight. And then Higgins does not text or call Karen Reed and say, what the F hey, Karen, what's going on? Call me. Brian Albert just called me and said that they just found John on his lawn. Tell me that that's not, how do you not make that call? How do you not make that text? It's because, in my opinion, okay, Higgins is thinking that he knows that Karen knows that John was perfectly fine and she saw him as one of the last people that John was with. And so I'm over here probably, if I'm Higgins, wondering why the fuck has Karen not asked me what the hell? Like, what the hell were you guys doing last night? What the hell happened? You know, after I left, I get it that y'all are a bunch of perverts and y'all want to have threesomes with, I don't know, whores. Come on. This is not brain surgery here, guys. If in a normal trial, they love the word motive. Okay? Motive. You guys should ask yourselves this. Why in the world was the Commonwealth not trying to say that perhaps Higgins and Karen had a motive to get John out of the picture? Think about that. Think about that for a minute.
Throughout the day.
I know that her defense team would have thought about that. It's the first thing that I would have thought about as soon as my client tells me about all of this stuff, depending on when they even ask Karen any questions, depending on what type of defense attorneys you have, they don't come to you and say, all right, tell me everything.
You called Brian Higgins at 7:20 a.m. for 1 minute and 56 seconds, correct?
Yes.
Brian Higgins called you at 7:30 for 5 minutes and 47 seconds.
Yes.
You called Brian Higgins at 7:57 a.m. Spoke for 12 minutes and 33 seconds.
Yes.
You then called your brother, Kevin Albert, at 9:40 a.m. and spoke for 1 minute and 5 seconds.
Yes.
Chief Berkowitz called you at 9:50 a.m. and left a voicemail. Is that right?
He didn't leave me a voicemail, but I think he called me.
You called Chief Berkowitz back at 9:54, 4 minutes later, and spoke for 4 minutes and 40 seconds, right?
Yes.
You called Jim McCabe at 11:30 a.m. Is that right?
Yes.
Jim McCabe called you back at 12:20 p.m. You spoke for 7 minutes and 52 seconds.
Yes.
You called Kevin Albert again at 2:01 in the afternoon and spoke for 8 minutes.
Yes.
You called Kevin Albert at 6:45. I'm sorry. You called Brian Higgins at 3:24 p.m. and spoke for 6 minutes and 5 seconds. Is that
That's
right?
an important one.
And if it refreshes your recollection, there's a second page, second log. You'll turn your attention to the 3:24 p.m. time frame.
Trying to find it.
Take your time.
What time are you referring to?
3:24 p.m.
That has to do with the CERT team.
I see it. Yes.
And there's a second call. You call Brian Higgins at 6:12 p.m. Speak for 1 minute and 7 seconds, right?
Yes.
And then the third one on that page, you called Brian Higgins at 6:35 p.m. Spoke for 10 minutes and 12 seconds, correct?
Yes.
Turning back to your call logs, you called Kevin Albert at 6:45 on the next on that same day. Spoke for about 16 minutes.
Yes.
Then on the next day, January 30th,
You guys, 6:12 p.m. is literally when they are saying that they found, like, you know, the CERT team found, you know, a piece of the tail light and the shoe and all that shit.
you called Chief Berkowitz and spoke for 1 minute and 6 seconds.
Yes.
And the following day, you spoke with Jim McCabe, who called you at 8:04 p.m., correct?
Yes.
And finally, Chief Berkowitz called you at 1:48 p.m. on February 1st, right?
Yes.
3 days later, you spoke again to Brian Higgins at 8:48 a.m. Is that right?
Yes.
The subject of these calls, Mr. Albert, were all about the fact that John O'Keefe was found dying on your yard, on your lawn, on January 29th, 2022. Isn't that right?
I don't know the subject of all these calls. No,
You had to have been talking about that event.
of course, it was a horrible situation that was going on. Everybody was distraught, and there were a lot of phone calls. This call log doesn't encompass all the phone calls.
No, it doesn't.
There are a lot of phone calls being made to a lot of people because of this horrible situation.
And the point is, Mr. Albert, those many calls that you just described, especially as they pertain to Brian Higgins, Jim McCabe, Kenny Berkowitz, your brother Kevin Albert, were those many calls an effort to get stories straight at the time?
No, absolutely not.
Were those many calls an effort?
I'm going to interrupt you, jury. We're going to send the jury out.
Address a couple of quick things that we talked about a little bit earlier. The September 22nd, 2022 date, recall that date?
Yes.
That's the date that you indicate that you believe you got rid of your phone or turned your phone in to Karen Reed on September 22nd, 2022?
No,
You were not aware that that was the first date that I appeared on this case. It was nationally televised.
Objection.
Sustain.
Were you aware that hearing date of September 22nd, 2022 was a televised hearing?
Objection.
Sustain.
What did you know about the hearing date of September 22nd, 2022?
I didn't know anything about it.
You knew nothing about it?
No.
Okay. Let me ask you a different question. This is going to dovetail into an earlier conversation you and I had concerning statement that you gave to in June of 2023 to the other hearing. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
I'm fumbling the language a little bit, but you understand the hearing that I'm talking about.
yes,
You had indicated a little bit earlier in my questioning that you did not recall saying something to the effect of, yeah, it's only possible that it was me who answered the phone. You remember saying that? That you didn't recall? Let me refresh your recollection as to the colloquy that you had with someone questioning you about this issue in June of 2023.
yes.
And in fact, you testified as follows, question, can you just, but, then you?
Objection, Your Honor, as far as the reading.
As far as what?
Reading from the transcript, he's asked him if his memories are fresh.
All right, so go ahead and ask him a question. Don't read from the transcript.
Did you in fact say in answer to the question, if it's not your wife and it's not your dog, who else is it possible on earth to answer this phone? Answer, yeah, it's only possible that it's me. Did you say
Yeah,
that?
yes.
Just before the break, I was asking you about those, including stories straight about how you were going to, what statements you were going to give to law enforcement and how you were going to testify if this case ever went to trial.
No, absolutely not.
Were those calls, those many calls, an effort to coordinate narratives between you and your friends and your family?
No,
Were those many calls in any way discussing the fact of creating a story of mysterious butt dial?
Objection.
Sustain.
Ever go down?
Yes.
Questions about the week prior to being at the waterfall? At some point, you were at the hillside, correct?
it came unrelated to anything I was doing.
And you were shown some video from the waterfall. Are you also aware of a judge's order denying that repeatedly as far as them gaining access?
May not have been.
In reference to the call logs, the phone records that you were shown, best of your memory, is that the entirety of the phone calls that you made around that time?
No, it looks like it's selective people and numbers.
And with respect to those conversations, if you recall, what, if anything, in general terms, you were discussing with either those people?
How the fuck do you prosecute a case like this, man? I mean, how do you get up there and literally at 2:22? And then think about this though. Proctor then they went out. I've never seen people go out and like, we have to get all this camera footage, so they could do what? Bury the camera footage. You know, like, all of the stuff should have shown like Karen Reed so guilty.
People in the logs or other people in general?
In general, I'm sure there was some discussion about the awful thing that had taken place, and there may have been other calls unrelated as well.
Can I have one more?
Yes.
Mr. Albert, on the early morning of January 29th, 2022, did John O'Keefe ever come into your house that night?
John never came into my house that night. He would have been welcomed, and the defendant would have been welcomed with open arms had they come in. And I wish they had. I really do.
Were you ever even aware that John O'Keefe or the defendant were anywhere in the area of your house during that early morning of January 29th?
I was not.
I have nothing further on.
And then when you compare then a couple things that Higgins said.
Not be accurate.
Objection.
Sustained.
Now, you do recall giving testimony in another proceeding on June 1st, 2023, correct?
Yes.
And of course, the same thing applied. You were under oath.
Okay.
So when everybody was leaving, did you leave before they did, John and Karen, or did they leave before you did?
I don't know.
You said you were the first one back to Brian Albert's house, correct?
Yes.
Safe to say you were one of the first ones to leave.
I was the first one to leave
Waterfall.
the waterfall. Probably.
I mean, if you're the, if everybody's herding out and you're the first one to get there, you're probably among the first to leave, correct?
Most likely.
Okay. You never personally discussed going to 34 Fairview with, certainly not with Karen Reed, did you?
No.
And you never discussed it with John O'Keefe either, did you?
No.
Right there.
You didn't say goodbye or walk over and give.
Right there. Right there. You guys, right there. You didn't discuss going to 34 Fairview, right? With Karen? No. With John? No. So then why the fuck are you texting? You coming here? You coming here. You coming here. Not, and you know why he can totally say that with a straight face? You coming here? Because the here, in my opinion, isn't 34 Fairview. You coming here.
John a big hug or anything like that. You didn't say goodbye or walk over and give John a big hug or anything like that?
No.
Acknowledgement, did you?
No.
You just left.
Well, that's what everybody was doing, just leaving.
Okay. You too. Correct?
I did leave, yes.
And all you knew that at that point, all you knew was that you were going over to.
You know what? They asked him, where'd you park? Where'd you park when you went to the waterfall bar? I don't remember where I parked. I don't remember where I parked. Yeah, you don't remember where you parked. Usually when you don't park a car, you don't remember where you parked it. He couldn't even say, I mean, come on, where'd you park? Why isn't his Jeep seen on the Canton library footage with the plow? Everything was really designed here. I'm telling you, it was all about protecting like Higgins. It was because he's actually on and going there. It would be before midnight. And that's where the Canton camera starts, is at midnight.
34 Fairview. You did not know who else was invited over to 34 Fairview.
My impression was that it was an open invitation, and I planned on heading over there.
But you did not know who else was coming.
I had no idea who was coming.
And you didn't say
It was an open invitation.
goodbye to John, correct?
I don't think I said goodbye to anybody.
And you didn't talk to him about coming over to 34 Fairview.
No.
Yet at 2:20 in the morning, you texted John O'Keefe, you coming here, correct?
At 2:20?
Sorry, 12:20.
I did.
And that had 3 question marks behind
Why? Coming where? That's the question. Coming where?
it, correct?
Yes,
Did you text Karen?
I did.
And that had 3 question marks behind it, correct?
Yes.
Did you text Karen about coming over to 34 Fairview?
No.
So at 12:20 a.m., after you left the waterfall and made your way over to 34 Fairview, you were more interested in getting John to come to 34 Fairview than you were to getting Karen.
The question, where were you when you texted? Where were you when you texted at 12:20? Were you inside the house? Were you outside? Were you, what, down the street? Where were you?
To come to 34 Fairview.
No, that's not how I would describe that.
But you didn't text Karen, correct?
No, I didn't.
But you did text John.
Yes.
But yet you texted Karen earlier, says, well.
You indicated that you took your Jeep, your personal vehicle with the plow on it, over to 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
And you were among the first to arrive because you were doing that thing with the sort of playing around by plowing his driveway.
It was a sweep of the driveway, yes.
And then you indicated that you parked in front of the house, correct?
I did.
I know you've been over this before, but I'm going to ask you one final time so it's completely clear. Exactly where was your Jeep in front of that house?
By the mailbox.
Okay. Can we have the court permission exhibit 66?
Okay. This is
This is graphic
impossible.
representation.
Everybody knows it.
Not photograph.
How come
Mr.
nobody
Orange, do you
saw
see
your
what's
Jeep?
depicted in exhibit 66?
Yes.
Do you recognize
And
it?
why did they pick this picture and put 3 vehicles in the driveway? I mean, am I losing my mind here? Why would the defense be helping the prosecution by putting 3 cars in the driveway? Anybody have there was 2 cars in that driveway. 2. Why is this picture being used?
I do.
You see the mailbox, which is about right there.
Yes.
Okay. Where was your Jeep in relation to that mailbox?
So the back end of the Jeep, the rear, would have been about around equal with the
And they don't have sedans. It was like a car.
mailbox, and I was not blocking the driveway.
Okay, so you would have been about there, correct? If the right edge of that highlight is the mailbox being right there, you've been about right there on the street.
Past the driveway, yes.
Okay. You indicated the plow was a 6-foot, what inch plow?
I think like,
And it's obviously not like I guess I'm picking out stuff off to the right. Is that not right? Perfectly parallel to the front end, or is it canted?
over here to the canter of the plow, tilted up so that air could get through the front grill.
So in other words, you can control it.
I can, yes.
How was it that night?
So
How was it canted that night? Was it straight or canted?
it was straight and straight on.
All right. Basically, what you described.
Initially, when I walked in, I believe there was Brian Jr., and he was flanked by 1, possibly 2 females.
And you indicated that basically you were positioned in that area with your back to the door for most of the evening.
I was like I would describe this diagonally across from him and had my back to the door that I had come in, which would be the breezeway door.
But at some point, you had moved out of that kitchen area with Brian Albert, correct?
Well, I briefly went and looked at some photos.
Right. So you moved out of that area with Brian Albert alone to go to a different room.
Yeah, so I think his wife, Nicole, might have popped in the room for a second, but it was brief.
Did you have anything to drink while you were at 34 Fairview?
Well, when I got there, they didn't have any whiskey. I believe they might have put a beer or something else in front of me. And, I knew it was going to be a short night there because I just wasn't going to, I'm not a beer drinker.
But guess what? People that you live around would have drinks. Hey, let's go run. Hey, come on. So you came in, you realize that they don't have their fucking, they got whiskey there, right? Hey, I know so-and-so, he's got it right, across the street. Hey, I'm going to come over. You got any, it's a really good reason to go on over to that other area.
You've indicated in a prior testimony.
I knew I wasn't going to be there that long. I was going to go somewhere else where I can get my liquor.
In Brian's house, correct?
Would you say upstairs, like, were you talking like second floor?
Correct.
Yes. No.
No cars in the garage. They don't park cars in the garage.
You testified to that in a prior hearing. Is that right?
Yes.
In May of 2023.
Yes.
And you said specifically, quote, I've never been upstairs.
Yes.
Right?
I've never been upstairs. I've never been. I mean, you can't possibly fuck this up. This is a lie. Okay. There was no looking at photos. And so I said to myself, you guys, this is what you call an alibi. Okay. This is alibying people at 12, 30, I feel like 12:35, 12:40 to say, we all need to say that we were all seeing each other at these times. And it's not because that's when John O'Keefe was killed. It's our words of times against Karen being able to say, what? No, I saw they were all him and Higgins were talking in the fucking Jeep when I left. I have no idea why that didn't come out. I have no idea. I find it hard to believe that Karen seems perfectly fine in that waterfall video. For her to go from being what I would consider perfectly fine, and so does that the O Keefe woman. I put a lot of weight into her testimony. Did somebody slip something in Karen's drink? I mean, what the fuck? All of this stuff going on, and Karen doesn't see any of it. If this was all happening at 34 Fairview, literally at 12:24, when the Waze arrives. Get the fuck out of here, okay? You guys, this is why I believe Karen is irate, because you were over in Oakdale. He gets out of the car, and that's where you think that this party is. You're sitting there. He hops in a vehicle with Higgins, okay? Hey, we're just going to go grab them and bring them back over here. Meaning to the people that are at the here, we'll just go bring them and bring, like, I don't know, match. Who the fuck knows, whatever. Or, and then we get over there, we just stay. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm simply saying that if Karen Reed is going somewhere and then she's sitting somewhere and she's like, what the fuck? No one's around. You would never say that if you were at 34 Fairview with all of this shit going on. Okay. You got Colin leaving. You got Julie Nagel coming out of the house. You got them arriving before she comes out of the house. You God knows what the fuck Caitlin Albert is doing. Higgins, Jen, Matt. I mean, come on. Everybody's just coming, like, everybody's looking out the windows. The door's open. There's like multiple front doors. The blinds are open. People are looking out the blinds. They're looking. I mean, if you're there, you would be paying attention at least enough. Like, I wouldn't be looking straight forward in the fucking trees. I'd be like looking back and seeing like, okay, like, where is this motherfucker, right? Where is this man? Or like, what's the version here? Dropped him off. I knew that I wasn't staying, so I did just drop him off and I left. Well, then that's even more powerful in the fact that she has no idea where she dropped him. None. And by her going to the waterfall ball in the morning, that tells me, like, dude, she had no idea. Why would she ever think that he'd be at the waterfall? Why would she ever go there? And I'm only going off of the data that shows that that's the cell tower she pinged on. That's where the camera has her going. Okay. And it's just, I'd be calling Higgins. I'd be texting Higgins and saying, where's John? Why wouldn't you? I'd be getting on Facebook and then going into Messenger and getting on the app and calling John's phone, or then going in Jen McCabe's. I would have asked Kaylee a hell of a lot earlier for Jen McCabe's phone number. Right? Why would I just keep calling John over and over and over and over and over?
You understood when you gave that statement that you were under oath?
Yes.
You were telling the truth?
Yes.
Same oath that you took here today, correct?
Yes.
You indicated that the photos that you saw were on the first floor living room area. Is that right?
I believe that's where they were. Yes.
So the only
You believe that that's where they were? You don't, the first floor living area, like, you would remember if you went upstairs. But why did that have to be inserted? Think about that. Why would you even be putting that into your story? And that story is coming because I'm telling you, it's in somebody's data. It's in the data that one of these motherfuckers or both of them calculated a flight of stairs.
only floor downstairs from the first floor would be what?
The basement.
And the only floor to look at. And someone said, we went upstairs to look at those photos. Where would they have to be?
I guess I'll
Not be accurate.
Objection.
Sustained.
Under oath. Is that right?
Yes.
You knew that it was a crime to lie under oath
Yes.
in that proceeding? Mr. Higgins, do you have that in mind?
I do.
May I approach?
Yes.
Answered, quote, showed up at the house that I didn't know. I think he was there very briefly. I was half paying attention to it. House.
Right here.
But there was no question in your mind that a male did in fact show up. And you described him as tall and dark haired, right?
Yes.
You were asked, a male showed up where? And you answered, quote, showed up at the house that I didn't know. I think he was there very briefly. I was half paying attention to it. Question, did that male come inside the house? Answer, I believe he did. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So a male did come in the house that night, correct?
No, I said I believe he did. I wasn't sure.
Well,
That doesn't even make any sense. Did you see if I saw somebody come into that, do you see how that's crazy? You see how crazy that is? What do you mean you're not sure if somebody came to the house? Did you fucking see them come in or not? What? These guys are police officers and they just don't have any memory? That's like one of the most important things that you have to have is like, you're very aware, you pay, like, you're very astute. And I don't buy that. In fact, what he then goes on to say, he's like, yeah, but this was about somebody coming to pick up somebody, and it was the whole Julie Nagel thing. And so then he's over here trying to say that Ryan Nagel, who does not have dark hair, the guy that actually drove Ryan Nagel has dark hair, but he's basically saying that one of them came into that house. And now I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
You testified at the prior hearing, somebody else, yes, end quote. That's what you testified to under oath, wasn't it?
Is that in reference to that?
What page are you on, Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
I do.
May I approach?
Yes.
Question, so you saw someone else come? Answer, somebody else. Yes, correct?
Yes, but I also said that I wasn't paying attention.
I realize that you want to explain your answer. I've asked you a very simple question. Was that your testimony in front of another proceeding?
Yes, it was.
At another proceeding, which you were under oath?
Yes, it was.
Okay. You also said that you only remember seeing that person come in briefly, and it looked like he was having a conversation with the two girls, briefly, correct?
Yes.
You were asked how long was the person in there roughly, and you said it was quick. Less than a couple of minutes. I mean, it was quick, correct?
Yes.
And then you were asked what he looked like, and you said, I feel like they were a little bit taller. They had dark hair, correct?
Yes.
So you testified that a tall, dark-haired male came into the house, at least briefly, in your testimony, correct?
Yes.
Approximately.
Yes. And so guess what time Higgins though gets there? Higgins gets there supposedly the first one. Okay. And he goes in, right? And so guess who that is? It's Colin. It's Colin.
When in the timeline of events did that unidentified male enter the residence?
I don't know the time frame. It would have been while I was there.
When you
No shit.
gave your statement to the Massachusetts State Police, you didn't tell them about a tall, dark-haired male coming into the residence at 34 Fairview, did you? On February 3rd?
I don't recall.
Who else was present, correct?
Yes.
And you never mentioned a tall, dark-haired male coming into the house, did you?
No.
However, on June 1st, 2023, at this other proceeding, you were specifically instructed at the start of your testimony that it was a crime to give materially false statements in that proceeding, correct?
Yes.
And that's the proceeding in which you admitted that there was a tall, dark-haired male who came in the house. Yes or no? Yes or no? Is that proceeding?
Can you answer that, yes or no?
No, I can't, Your Honor.
Next question, Mr. Jackson.
The quotations or the quotes, another day, sir, at the Albert residence in total, from the time you got there to the time you left.
Maybe like a half hour.
Right there. How long were you there? Maybe like a half hour. He got there at 12:05, 12:06. Like legit 12. If he went straight there, it's that close. You're going to be there by 12:05. Maybe a half hour.
Less than an hour.
And
Less
what time
than an
did you
hour.
leave, say 12:30, you said?
I think I said between 12:30 and 1 a.m.
And you indicated that you pretty much didn't say goodbye to anybody, right?
And that's huge because it only takes just about the same amount of time to then go to the Canton Police Department. And so if you're not getting to the Canton Police Department until 1:30 or 1:36, okay, you're on the phone at 1:40, it doesn't take you 30 minutes, even if I put you all the way to 1 o'clock and then you did not leave at 1. Okay. And I know that you couldn't have left the Alberts at 1:30 because you got to get over there. But why? Where did he go between? Okay, you guys want to talk about how did Lank get the phone? Where did he go before he went to the Canton Police Department? He did not go straight there. If he left at 12:30, it's definitely immediately leave even at 1 o'clock, you guys. It is impossible. It takes you 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
At the house?
Correct.
I just kind of left. I said, see you later. Turn around, left.
As a matter of fact, at that same hearing that we just looked at, your statement was, I made a beeline out of it, correct?
I don't know if that's the verbiage I used, but I left.
Why the rush? Why did you leave so quick?
Because it was a long day and I just wanted to go home.
Except you didn't go home, did you?
No, I went back to Canton PD.
Right. So it wasn't such a long day that you actually drove home. You went back to the Canton Police Department at 1 or 1:30 in the morning, correct?
To move vehicles, correct.
Well, let's talk about you leaving. You walked out the side breezeway door, correct?
Yes.
You walked down the driveway.
Yes.
There's nothing obstructing your view at that point of the lawn to your right, correct?
I didn't look over there, but I would not think so.
Between you and the flagpole, in other words, there wasn't some mound of dirt, something obstructing your view. You could see straight across if you wanted to, correct?
If I wanted to, yes.
It's just basically a flat grassy lawn with a light dusting of white powder snow on it, right?
I don't know how much snow was, but there was snow there.
Yeah, you indicated that it wasn't even enough to stick to the pavement at that point.
Well, that's when I got there. Yes,
Well, you only stayed less than an hour, right?
that's correct.
So I'm assuming you didn't dump 3 feet in an hour, correct?
I think we can both agree that it's not 3. It wouldn't have been 3 feet now.
Right. So
Okay. Brian stated he did not know John and Karen were coming to his house and were invited by Jennifer McCabe. That's Brian Albert's statements. He did not know that they were coming. Okay. He did not know that they were coming. And I said, I might believe that for a little bit. Okay. Now, Brian Higgins says, Brian said he was the first to arrive back at 34 Fairview Road. And as a result, he cleaned out a space for Brian Albert and his wife, Nicole, to park the vehicle they were driving in their driveway. What the fuck are you talking about? Nobody would drop a plow when there's no snow. Unless you were trying to fuck up my driveway, which I will fuck you up. Because that's some shit, okay? So why the fuck would that ever happen? Next, there's no room, by the way. I mean, what do you mean? You have Nicole's vehicle. You have the Explorer. But Nicole's vehicle, as you guys saw this in the morning, is not there. Then, subsequently, Brian said that he parked his Jeep on the road along the property closest to the driveway on the left side facing towards up Chapman Street. At this time, there were no other vehicles in front of his Jeep. Brian stated that once inside the home located at 34 Fairview Road, he observed Brian and Nicole Albert, the owners, Nicole's sister Jen, and her husband Matt McCabe, as well as Brian and Nicole's children, who were home at the time of everyone's arrival back to the Waterfall Bar. And this is why I said, bingo, got you. Got you. You know how I got you? Because when you first got there, I do think that you ran in. For all I know, you had to go to the bathroom. Okay, like most people do when they're drinking. Then you left your vehicle running, which then you came back out to get in, then pulled out, then parked your Jeep like you say you did, and it was there that you waited for John and Karen. And then you texted at 12:20 like, dude, I can't just sit out here. Like, you coming? Like, where are you? Like, are you coming? Like, he waited outside in his vehicle. And that's why I believe that he did that, because then he's saying when he went in, he's saying that all those people were in there, to include Jen and Matt. And I know what time the phone call was that John had with, that John's phone had with Jen. And he's over here then saying that prior to sending John a text message at 12:20 a.m., where are you? Is what he says, but it's you coming here. Brian remembers Jen being on the phone with John and giving him directions to the home. And I said, you know how you would remember that? Is if you were actually in the car with John when all of that would have been happening. Probably like, I don't know, the 12:29 call. You're probably in there. And then prior to that, because you two don't know where the fuck you're going after Karen, you get out of Karen's car, and it was actually you were in his vehicle where he was going because he wanted to pick up probably liquor from a friend that has the liquor, or from a friend that, hey, we're going to go pick up so-and-so and they're going to come back with us. Names that have been left off the ticket from day one, which is why they would be involved with helping cover this up. And those are Canton police officers. But Brian remembers Jen being on the phone with John and giving him directions to the home. And so that's what would then prompt you to say, you coming here? If you're being told that your friend is lost, you coming here? That would be your text. The fuck it would. It would never. You were not inside when Jen came in and told you, and that's how you heard this. Absolute craziness. But the timing of the text is really, really important, because what it is he's trying to qualify why he sent that text. and that's what it was about. And it's not what it's about. Because he didn't know, because he didn't even know that had existed. Because you can't have it both ways. Either you're in your Jeep by yourself at 34 Fairview, waiting and texting because you want to have a conversation when he arrives, or the reason that you would know about this is because you texted that, you coming here is because you're somewhere else. And if you're coming to where actually he is, to then go back to 34 Fairview, but you guys went somewhere first, because I'm still trying to understand why Karen is absolutely freaking out on you. If you just got out of the car a minute and a half at 12:31, why Karen would start blowing you up at 12:33 makes no sense. None. Absolutely not. But it would make sense for her to start blowing up at 12:33 if you got out of the car at, I don't know, 12:21. That's like 10 minutes, isn't it? Now it makes a lot more sense. And it goes with the original story, which is that he got out, she waited about 10 minutes and then was like, and left. Okay. And then she never calls Higgins, never texts Higgins, and he doesn't do the same. Why? Why are these two people completely acting like the other one doesn't even exist? Meanwhile, you're trying to find John, and then after you find him and he's in that type of critical condition, I'd be asking him what the fuck's, like, what happened?
A little bit of light dusting of snow.
More snow than was there.
How far would you say it was from
That's
the edge
not
of the
true about
driveway
the GPS. I
over to
already
your
handled
Jeep?
that.
From where the back of my Jeep was parked?
Correct.
The GPS just doesn't have it showing there. That's not true. The GPS actually shows that it goes within a 1,400 meter radius at very key points throughout that time frame. And then the defense put 0 time into it in trial 2 because they had it by the nuts with this other shit. But a phone, in my opinion, was sitting outside the Albert's residence in a car. Like, it sat there. And so that makes perfect sense that it would be there because it sat outside exactly where it was in a vehicle. But John had already moved and he was without that phone. If I don't want to hey, I'm leaving my phone right here.
Maybe a foot or two, or could have been even with the edge of the driveway.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's probably a bad question on my part. When you left the house, as you started to walk down the driveway toward your Jeep, how long of a walk is that? Across the yard to down the driveway to get to your Jeep?
Short.
30 feet?
Maybe.
Okay. 1:30 in the morning, were you?
I was moving the vehicles. I'm sure it's on video.
And we'll talk about the video in just a second.
I was moving the vehicles. I'm sure it's on video. He knew it.
I moved my personal vehicle. I moved work vehicles.
Or either one. You just traded off vehicles, moved them out of the way, right?
I moved the purpose for going back there was to move 2 work vehicles.
And the reality is you'd gotten.
And we need to go back and run the tape back and see what 2 vehicles, what they truly were. What were the descriptions? And then go and look at those Canton library videos again. Go look at the waterfall videos again.
Canton PD.
Were both of those trucks, was anything a sedan?
Earlier in the afternoon, and actually moved some other vehicles, traded vehicles, didn't you?
I swapped vehicles out, that's correct.
Right, and you left the vehicles that you now claim you had to go move exactly where they were, even though you knew a blizzard was coming, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So you didn't move the cars a few hours earlier, knowing that you just have to come back and move those cars a few hours later,
I
right?
was more concerned to go eat and have a drink because it had been a long day.
So wouldn't you want to move those cars early on so you wouldn't have to go all the way back to Canton and play parking lot with these cars in the middle of the night?
I love when Alan Jackson said that. Fucking love this man. Love Alan Jackson. Love Alan Jackson. Okay. Dude, the Reed team was so couldn't even be, in my opinion, they were dealing with so much shit before trial 1 started. I mean, Turtle Boy was arrested before trial 1, right? And here, breathing down the necks of everything was Karen potentially being wrapped up in these conspiracy shit in the phones and just the ridiculousness. Okay. All because we have a crybaby woes me, and he wanted Karen Reed's life so bad. But frame me.
Where exactly did you go when you left 34 Fairview?
I went back to the Canton police station.
When you were asked that on direct examination, you said you weren't sure where you went when you left 34 Fairview, either home or to Canton PD.
No, that's not what I testified to.
Did something jog your memory about where you went?
That is not what I testified to. That was in relation to where did I go after I left 34 Fairview the next morning.
Okay. Where'd you go?
Correct.
I just kind of left. I said, see you later. Turn around, left.
As a matter of fact, at that same hearing that we just looked at, your statement was, I made a beeline out of there, correct?
I don't know if that's the verbiage I used, but I left.
Why the rush? Why did you leave so quick?
Because it was a long day and I just wanted to go home.
Except you didn't go home, did you?
No, I went back to Canton.
Okay. During the course of you walking out the door, heading to your Jeep, you didn't see out to the right the flagpole is, correct? 1 o'clock is just a few degrees to the right, correct? That's what you meant.
At the 1 o'clock.
Why did you go to Canton Police Department
Here we go.
that morning?
That morning.
What's the question?
Why did you go to the Canton Police Department that morning?
The morning when I left 34 Fairview, the Friday into Saturday,
Correct.
to move 2 vehicles.
There's been quite an evolution of that story over the years, has there not?
I don't understand the question.
All right, let's talk about that for a second. You had an initial interview with Massachusetts State Police on February 3rd, 2022.
Yes.
Correct? And you indicated during the course of that interview, which was just a couple of days, 5 days after the events in question, that you left Brian Albert's house, went to Canton PD to, quote, fulfill some administrative obligations, end quote, correct? You later said, when you testified in front of the grand jury on April 28th, that you went to Canton PD to do, quote, administrative work, correct?
Yes.
You never mentioned,
I said administrative things.
you said administrative work was your testimony in your transcript.
I believe it was things, but okay.
Okay. Can we agree, Mr. Higgins, that you didn't mention anything about moving cars around, correct?
Well, that would be administrative.
So when you say I went to Canton PD to do administrative work or administrative obligations, you meant moving your car, your personal vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Although you didn't say that you were going there to move your personal vehicle, right?
No, I said I didn't move my personal vehicle. I moved work vehicles.
Or either one. You just traded off vehicles, moved them out of the way, right?
I moved the purpose for going back there was to move 2 work vehicles.
And the reality is you'd gotten Canton PD earlier in the afternoon and actually moved some other vehicles, traded vehicles, didn't you?
I swapped vehicles out. That's correct.
Right. And you left the vehicles that you now claim you had to go move exactly where they were, even though you knew a blizzard was coming, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
So you didn't move the cars a few hours earlier, knowing that you just have to come back and move those cars a few hours later,
I
right?
was more concerned to go eat and have a drink because it had been a long day.
So wouldn't you want to move those cars early on so you wouldn't have to go all the way back to Canton and play parking lot with these cars in the middle of the night?
Not really.
Mr. Higgins, you weren't actually at Canton PD to do administrative work at 1:30 in the morning, were you?
I was moving the vehicles. I'm sure it's on video.
We'll talk about the video in just a second.
See, that's how good they think they are. That, hey, that's all on camera, so you better go over there and I'll say that I was moving the vehicles, but then what did you go in and get, right? What did you go and get? And he either got a bottle of alcohol, in my opinion, no joke, that I think that he would have had there. And if I want to drink over at these people's houses, okay, that I'm not going to drink beer. So I'm going to go get my own bottle that I actually have in my office and then go back there. Okay. And then, or he got some big old duffel bag, which looks really interesting.
You entered the Canton police station through which door?
I believe it was the door to the right of the Sally Port as you
Dispatch, right?
So do you need to hear something more? All right, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. Mr. Higgins, if you went back to Canton PD at 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, you would certainly be in a position to monitor anything that was happening at Canton PD at the time that at least you were there, correct?
No.
I mean, you would be inside the building, correct?
Yes.
With access to dispatch and anything else that was happening around that floor, that area, correct?
I did not go into dispatch.
You would have access to the interior of the police station at that time.
This would also be able to have a conversation with Good and it not be on any radios. Okay, so these are my options of why he went there, and that was on my list.
If you went back to Canton PD at 1:30 in the morning, correct?
I'd have access.
You could see if there was any activity going on, any calls, call outs, things of that nature.
I didn't have access to that. And I wasn't looking for it.
Not that you were looking for it, Mr. Higgins. My question is more simple than that. If you were there, you'd know what was going on inside the building.
No.
So if you watched a call, you wouldn't see that?
Objection.
The station take you to get home from Canton PD?
A little longer from after I moved the vehicles.
Correct.
I don't know. I mean, it could have been 15 minutes. It could have been 20 minutes.
You live alone?
I do.
You did then?
Yes.
What did you do when you got home?
I think I had something to eat, maybe a couple more drinks.
You guys, I think I had something to eat, had a couple more drinks. Like, what the fuck? How much can he drink? He's like, think about it. I'm pissed, man. Who would ever go to a house party and you don't have what I have to drink? Get the fuck out of here. Somebody and you want me to believe that they didn't have liquor at their house? I don't buy that, but whatever. I mean, why would I ever go there in the first place? How fucking lame, right? You would never get out of here.
It's bed.
Was either on the couch or in the bed watching the news.
And any of
The news at 2 a.m. I just die over this shit.
the prior testimony that you've given in this case, have you ever indicated
I was just checking my fucking phone, wondering why Karen didn't text me back, and
that you slept on the couch that night?
I was fucking on YouPorn.
I don't know.
Well, you reviewed your testimony before you
Well, those would be the two options.
Okay. That night.
Not that I recall.
As a matter of fact, what you did mention under questioning in a different hearing was that you may have gotten something to eat, you then went to bed, put your stuff on the nightstand next to your bed, correct?
That would be the routine, yes.
You did not make or receive any calls after returning home that night.
No.
Okay, so you guys ready for the big bomb? Why? Where's the, if he has the phone records, Alan Jackson at this time, which I don't think he does, then who was the 140 call to? We never saw Higgins in trial 1 on the phone. We didn't see him, doing anything at the,
You were clear when you went to sleep in your prior testimony that you put both your work and your personal phone. You had 2 at the time, correct?
Yes.
Did they have that video then?
Cell phone, right?
Yes.
You put them both on your bedside table because that's what you do every night. Is that right?
Most often, yes.
As a matter of fact, you were asked whether or not you have a charging station, and you said, "Yeah, it's right on my bedside."
I don't know. I don't have a charging station.
Right. You said no bedside. In other words, you keep your phone by your bedside on your bedside table.
Usually.
You also testified that you did not use your phone that night to go on social media, correct?
That's correct.
You indicated that you don't go on. You didn't go on social media because you don't have social media. You don't use it that much.
I don't.
You said I don't have the gram. I'm guessing that means Instagram, correct?
That is correct.
And you don't use Snapchat, and you quote don't do those things, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So you testified
He's a very private person.
that the first call you received after returning home on the 29th was a call from Chief Berkowitz just before 7 a.m., which woke you up. Is that right?
It was around 6:30ish, I think.
Okay. Your testimony previously was at some point before 7 a.m. That call was the one that woke you up.
Yes.
And it turns out, Mr. Higgins, that was a lie, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't a lie.
Okay, so think about this. 6:30, right? If Berkowitz, right, is calling Higgins, and Alan Jackson wanted to know, hey, Lank, who are you on the phone with at about 6:28? 6:29. Who'd you call? Who are you on the phone with? What time did that phone call end? Is he insinuating that Lank called Berkowitz? I mean, one would think, right? And then Berkowitz fucking called Higgins? Now, won't that be some shit? And I always wondered why Alan Jackson did not call Berkowitz to the stand in trial 1.
When you were asked that question at a previous hearing, you didn't know that the person questioning you had your phone records, did you?
I assume they did.
And you were thereafter confronted with those phone records, correct?
I was asked about them, yes.
And those phone records established that you and Brian Albert actually exchanged not 1, but 2 phone calls at 2:22 a.m. that morning, at a time when you claimed you were in bed asleep, correct?
I have no recollection of any phone calls.
May I approach you on?
Yes.
Take a look at those 2 documents and tell me if you recognize at least the top one. Do you recognize those?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
These are, on the lower right, it has a page number or
On the lower right-hand corner?
You've seen that document before, correct?
I think I've seen it maybe on a screen, not in my hand.
At least the one marked QQ is a record 22, duration of 1 second, correct?
Yes.
In other words, Brian Albert called you at 2:22 and 35 seconds, but it looks like you missed the call, correct?
I see the 1 second call, yes.
There's a second call just below that on the same date at 2:22 and 52 seconds from you to Brian Albert. Do you see that one?
Yes.
And the duration of that call is 22 seconds, correct?
I see that, yes.
So 17 seconds after you missed a call, according to these records, from Brian Albert, you called him back, and there was a call lasting 22 seconds. Is that right?
That's what the records say.
May I approach?
Yes.
So the fact is, you were speaking to Brian Albert in the middle of the night, approximately 3 hours before Mr. O'Keefe's body was found in his yard, correct?
No, that's not correct.
And that was 5 minutes before 2:27 a.m. when there was a Google search for how long to die in cold, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Saying, you said, I don't remember that phone call.
I always tell the truth.
Did you lie under oath, sir?
No, I did not.
Did you tell us if you did?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You acknowledge that there's
I
a 22-second phone.
You know, that kind of got me. Like in trial one, I'm like, you know, he's really adamant. Like he is like super duper adamant about stuff. And it just looks really, really bad that he didn't text Karen when he found out that John was on the lawn. I think it looks really bad for him. Just like I think it looks really strange for her that she didn't call or text him to try to figure out what the fuck happened to John. You know, I get that people like it's a, you know, you're in shock or whatever. But well, and then if Karen and John were in the same vehicle, Higgins texting John, and I don't know, did Karen see it? You know, did John say, oh, Higgins is asking where we're at? You know, it's almost like Karen at 12:33 all of a sudden had amnesia, okay? And literally just doesn't remember anything about anything that's been going on in her life. I'm surprised she didn't hit up like Carrie Ann and say, hey girl, are you still at Brian Hamilton's? I'm about to pop over there. You know, if I'm not feeling well and I went home because I wasn't feeling well, I can promise you I am not going to sit on my phone and literally press call over and over and over again like Tim McGraw and Nelly. I just, there's no fucking way. That's just not my style, period. But because if I was going to do all that and I really knew where I was at, because I don't think she knew where she was at, and this is what makes sense is why she didn't go inside a place. I always wondered this, right? Why didn't Karen Reed go just, dude, he walked inside. Why didn't you go and be like, hey, it's because she had no idea where the fuck he went. Okay. She did not see him go into she literally did not know where to go and like find him. I'm not kidding. So she doesn't know where he physically is. Otherwise, I think there would have been no fucking problem going up and knocking on the door and saying, hey, I mean, come on. But it makes sense if you don't know, you know, a lot of, you know, pull off the side of the road, you know, fuck you, get out of my car and, you know, go fuck yourself, John. You want me to go pick up these girls that are 20. Get the fuck out of here. You pervert. Get the fuck out of my car. Higgins, come pick your ass up.
In your phone records, correct?
That's what's reflected by the record.
And 22 seconds is quite an amount of time. Would you agree?
It's 22 seconds.
You might have 22 seconds. 22 seconds long enough to have a conversation.
No.
You can't. A human being can't navigate to a phone application, then navigate to a contact, and then make a call. Correct?
Objection.
Yes. And then there was a question.
There was a series of questions there. That's only a fragment of what I said.
I'm not done yet, Mr. And why the 22-second phone call, sir?
Objection.
Sustained.
Okay, in your mind, correct?
It was a sad day.
The very first.
I always tell the truth. I always tell the truth. Really? No, you don't, because you lied to John for how many days that, I mean, you're wanting Karen to ride it.
The person you spoke to after waking up was who?
Well, I believe I said I got the call from Chief Berkowitz.
That's not my question.
Say that again?
Who's the first person you spoke to on the phone that morning when you woke up?
Brian L.
That was at 7:20. 7:20. Chief Berkowitz called at 6:30.
Whose idea was it for you to drive to Brian Alberts?
He's at least smarter than these fucking idiots. He's like, I can't be up at this time, so I'm not answering that phone call. And he didn't. He's at least smart. Brian Higgins, I don't think is a dummy like these other fucking idiots, but he didn't answer the call from Berkowitz at 6:30. Why? Because people are sleeping at 6:30. That's why. But he answers Brian's at 7:30 or 7:20.
It was my idea.
Was it important? Whose idea was it for you to drive to Brian Albert's house that morning?
It was my idea.
Was it important to you?
It was his idea. All of this shit was his idea.
to speak with Brian Albert in person rather than over text or phone call.
No, it's important to support the people that were there.
So of course you drove over to his house, had an opportunity.
Support the people that were there. You need to be supported. Okay? You literally are just, you were just making out with, trying to plan a future together with Karen Reed. And now that man that was in the middle of that happening is dead. You are prime suspect number one. How that did not come out in the beginning of any of this shit tells me that it doesn't look good for Karen or him. In any case, in any other case in the entire world, he would have been suspect number one.
To speak to him in person without any law enforcement presence, correct?
I was there with everybody, not just Brian Albert.
And Brian Albert was in the house and you were in the house, right?
That's correct.
So you had access to him.
Oh, it's very simple. I personally believe that when John got out of the vehicle at 12:21 and 10 seconds, they were not at 34 Fairview. So no, she did not witness him going into 34 Fairview, period, because that's not where they were. She does not know that though. She has never been over there, been to these people's houses, been in that area. So to her, wherever he would have gotten out of the vehicle and like ran in or did whatever, and then she's just waiting and he doesn't, come back because he either got into another vehicle, which eventually that's what it looks like he did because of his ways. It takes you exactly to 34 Fairview. But I'm saying that I don't believe that Karen knew where she thought that she was. Great. She thinks that she's there. It's not where she was, though. That's what it looks like to me. That's what it looks like in the evidence for the data. And then that makes sense in terms of why Karen started calling at 12:33. And that would have been roughly about 10 minutes or so after the whole, getting out at 12:21 and 10 seconds. That's when the health data registered a new session log of walking.
And others.
You have to walk. If he was just in a vehicle the entire time from 12:13 until 12:31, there is no way in hell you're going to get another data session to start with actual steps. Like these iPhones know, like they're so good. They know if you're driving versus if you're walking. And for the data session to end 5 seconds before a new one begins is the most telling that it is accurate and it is about taking steps. Okay. And then if we look at the average speed that it's taking them to do this little driving back in the Oakdale area, yeah, one of the times the average speed is 9 miles per hour. What? Well, 9 miles per hour when you mix it with if you're stopped for 0 and then some of the time you're driving like 40. Okay. So yeah, you could come to complete stops and somebody could get out and if it's over there and pull off and you're letting people in or you're getting out. I mean, I don't know. Did he have a 2-door? Did Higgins have a 4-door or a 2-door? Because I'll tell you what, when you got to put people in a Jeep and you have a 2-door, that passenger person is getting the fuck out and you're, opening it up and letting the people in. I don't know. Does he have a 2-door, 4-door?
Without any law enforcement there. Is that right?
That's correct.
As soon as you got off the phone with Brian Albert that morning, who did you call?
Ghostbusters.
At 7:22 a.m. If you
I
recall.
think I might have called Chief Berkowitz back.
So as soon as you got off the phone with Brian Albert, first thing in the morning, the next call you made was to Chief Berkowitz. Is that right?
Yes, because he had called me first. Yes, I called him back.
Did you request from Chief Berkowitz any information that he may have had concerning the investigation surrounding John O'Keefe being found at 34 Fairview that morning?
No.
Were you trying to see how much law enforcement knew right away?
Absolutely. I didn't even know what happened.
Were you trying to gather information about what happened so that you would know what happened?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No.
What you were trying to do?
No, Your Honor.
I asked myself this because it's a really good question to ask yourself. Would it be better if John O'Keefe was on the lawn of Brian Alberts, right? Because people with the whole conspiracy, they're like, dude, why the fuck would he put him on the lawn, his own lawn? Because that's an important part of the story. And the story is, we need to tell everybody that we saw Karen Reed out here out front of 34 Fairview, and that it did this little, that it was parked right here. And that's a big part of the story. Okay. Because the story that Karen Reed is saying is that I basically left him at the waterfall bar. And I think that that's an important part of the story, which makes sense. She went back to the waterfall bar, in the morning. That's where Karen left him. And so you can even go back and you can start thinking about things even in this aspect that Higgins is so adamant to say, I was the first one there. I was the first one there. It's like, well, go check out, I'm telling you to check out that Canton Library footage. I found 2 Jeeps, okay? But they don't have a plow on them. I found 2 Jeeps, but they don't have a plow. And is it at all possible that again, yep, Karen going her way, but is it at all possible that she at first was going to go home, and then she decided that, okay, fine, I won't. I'll go, even though John got in somebody else's vehicle. And the only person's vehicle that he would have gotten into, in my opinion, would be, Higgins. If they were with Chris Albert knows where the fuck he's going. He knows where his brother lives. So he doesn't need to be entering anything into a Waze. But the only person, in my opinion, that he would have been with that, hey, yeah, put, get the address, would be Higgins. The McCabe's know where they're going. Chris Albert would know where they're going. But he's the only one that wouldn't. He could be the first one there because he gets there and he just doesn't go in the house right away. And that's what it looks like. You can look at it, I'm telling you, from like 3 different ways, but it's all centering around Karen literally has no idea where he's at. And by her not making any calls, like in the morning, I paid attention to her call like in the morning though. In the morning, she's calling Mike Camarino, however he says his name. She called the husband, the wife of him. Okay. She called Carrie Ann, Kieran, like 4 times at 4:47, 4:48, 4:49. Trust me, she made phone calls to literally him for Jen McCabe and Carrie Roberts were the last people. Those were not the people that that she ripped it off with and was calling. Okay. So when I went back and looked at the phone records / the people that Karen Reed actually called first, she's calling at 4:50 she called Catherine. Before that, she called Mike like 4 times, 4:47, 48, 49, and 50. The Carrie Ann woman. What time was that at? Carrie Ann was, she called her like 3 times. Jennifer observed John and Karen leave together. John texted Jennifer at approximately 12:14 asking where to. None of these people witnessed any of that, though. You watch the waterfall bar outside video, and they just did not. You can tell where people are, and so the people that started this whole where the Jeep was parked was the McCabe's through Proctor and Higgins. That's the only people. Karen told Jennifer that she went home alone last night and last saw John at the waterfall bar. Jennifer had to correct Karen and told her that they left the waterfall bar together and went to 34 Fairview Road. And right there, that to me is even more indicative of, you know, we need to everybody needs to say that Karen went to 34 Fairview. And I think that's the big lie, because I don't think that Karen did. But Karen adopted the story because now she has 11 witnesses that say that they didn't see a body on the lawn and they didn't see her smash into him. And so she came out after trial 1 and did these interviews to marry the story because that was part of their plan. That's my opinion. Remember a bunch of this bullshit, which is while at 34 Fairview Road, Matthew McCabe said that he observed a big dark SUV parked to the right of the house. And he said that he was able to see this V shape, like a 3-point turn. And I said to myself, what the fuck? Like, it's all a bunch of shit. Karen never made no 3-point turn. Unless you put her in the vehicle with the Waze, and where you're making this 3-point turn is over there on Cedar Crest. Right?
Did Chief Berkowitz tell you about his knowledge of John O'Keefe's body being found just after 6 a.m.?
Objection.
And you were at the crime. Informed Chief Berkowitz that you had been with
The waterfall.
Did you tell Chief feet away from where John's body was discovered?
No, because I didn't know where he was.
Remember, we're going to go over to Lanks and we're going to get more tomorrow. Remember that? I would love to know what Lank and his wife did, and Carrie Roberts. Remember when Kurt Roberts took the stand and he was just adamant to talk about Carrie and what the fuck she did that night, and that she was home sleeping when he got home, that she was already asleep. It's like, why are you even saying that?
Discovered.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you and Brian Albert had a call at 2:22 in the morning?
Objection.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had been flirting with John O'Keefe's girlfriend in the weeks prior to his death?
No.
Did you ever tell Chief Berkowitz about the nature of your interest in Miss Reed?
No, I don't believe so.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had seen Mr. O'Keefe and Miss Reed the night before, and that Miss Reed had ignored you?
Objection.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier.
Just a second ago, that when I asked, did you tell Chief Berkowitz that your Jeep was parked just feet away from where John O'Keefe's body was found? You said, I have no idea where John O'Keefe's body was found, correct?
That's correct.
You just spoken with Brian Albert, right?
He said in front of the house.
All he said was, John O'Keefe was found in front of the house. He didn't say right outside on my front lawn.
I believe he said he was found out in front of his house, unresponsive.
Okay. You indicated just a second ago that when I asked, did you tell Chief Berkowitz that your Jeep was parked just feet away from where John O'Keefe's body was found? You said, I have no idea where John O'Keefe's body was found, correct?
That's correct.
You just spoken with Brian Albert, right?
He said in front of the house.
All he said was, John O'Keefe was found in front of the house. He didn't say right outside on my front lawn.
I believe he said he was found out in front of his house, unresponsive.
Okay. If he was out in front of his house, then you would know, because your Jeep was also parked out in front of his house. Your Jeep would just be feet away from him, correct?
Objection.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had texted John O'Keefe to have him come over to 34 Fairview just hours before he was discovered dead in the yard?
No.
Did you think any of that was important when talking to the Chief of Police of the Canton Police Department?
I'll let him have it.
No, I didn't. There was no reason to tell him.
Mm-hmm.
You've been an investigator for some 15 years, and you were a firefighter for years before that, correct?
Yes.
You're very familiar with some of the tools.
We can dissect this all day. Run it back from the beginning. It's very, very simple. We're missing a vehicle at the Albert's house. That vehicle is very important to the narrative of how did John O'Keefe's phone get transported so that Lank would have it. At 6:02, I personally believe that the vehicle that was outside blocking this area was not the Edge. It was, in fact, it was Nicole's SUV. And that vehicle was then drove. It had the phone in it, and it was taken out, and it came out of that pocket state. And then where that car ended up, again, in my opinion, is over at Oakdale, so that Lank would have it. And voila, he comes back to the scene, so at 6:24 or 5, gets out of the vehicle, and voila, John's phone starts moving again. So they were walking around with it over there at Lank's prior to coming, over. But when he got into his vehicle to then drive, you see that there's this 4.5 minute of nothing going on with John's phone. So that's during the time of it being drove over. In my opinion, it's a theory that you have to strongly consider when you take all of the elements, which is the car missing, the battery temperature, the stairs then that accumulate when Lank goes back into the house at 6:40, whatever, 3, 4, whatever time. It registers flight to Sarah at 6:55. Lank's inside the house. And then basically when Lank gets back to the police department, well, then he's at the house. He's doing all the fucking blow drying or leaf blowing shit and walking back and forth with fake evidence bags. All these things. Then he goes back into the house. Well, when he goes back into the house, guess what happens? Go check John's stairs. He goes back in there with who? Gallagher. But then when they go back to talk, I personally believe that he goes back in at, they say that they clear the scene at 7:52. So then they drive and they get on over to the police department. He's registering flight, I think, at 7:58. And then he's walking around the Canton Police Department, Lank is, and then he gets a call like 8:24, or I'm sorry, rather the Canton Police Department calls Jennifer McCabe's phone at 8:24. They discuss stuff, and then Lank's personal cell phone is called at 8:59. And then when he goes there, the phone stays at the Canton Police Department from, remember, Trooper Proctor gets there. And Trooper Proctor then had his phone at the Canton Police Department from, his phone stays there, and Trooper has it, and Proctor has it. If you follow all of that, all roads lead to, this was done by, Higgins basically is a Canton officer. Without the title, he has an office there. He's a Canton fucking officer, basically, but he's all those boys. He knows them. That's Higgins people. Look at the close relationships that he has with all those people. He had access to that building. Kevin Albert. Whether something went sideways, it was an accident, and then these fucking people panicked, and they're a bunch of, or it was something else. But Higgins texted John at 12:20. and looked at his phone multiple times, and never once did he respond back to that. But he answered Jen McCabe's phone call. And I know that I don't respond back to people in a text message form if I'm with them. I answered Jennifer McCabe's call because I wasn't with her. Jennifer McCabe then continues to call him and write shit. Call. And like, what the fuck? And why would you be doing that? Why would you be doing that? Because it's like, where the fuck did you go? Hello, where are you? Like, I just fucking saw you. Or when I was on the phone with you at 12:29, hey, you can give, hey, I'm going to need a ride, because Karen's leaving. Okay, no problem. Come on. 7 seconds. Hey, did Karen just leave? Yeah, I'm going to need a ride. She's not saying she doesn't feel well. Okay, that's fine. 7 seconds. That's the type of phone call that happened. Also, was it Karen? I mean, if you guys want to say that Karen, that phone call that John answered was very, very critical at 12:29. He answered Jennifer McCabe's call. And Jennifer McCabe said it must have been a butt dial. Because and I'm like, what? And it didn't become a butt dial, though, in the beginning. Also, I think Higgins is a pretty good liar. I think Higgins lied to Jennifer McCabe. We'll see. All these people's phone records are going to tell you a really interesting story. Peace out, Girl Scouts. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you, members, subscribers, lurkers. Thank you so much to the new members. Cheers, Harbor Linz. I like that. A month ago, I couldn't remember Higgy's name, so I Googled Fat W Federal Agent, Canton, Massachusetts, and there he was. What the fuck? This is. Oh, wow. Green Girl, new member. Chris, was this Crispies? Thank you for all your hard work. We appreciate it. We appreciate you. I appreciate you guys. Words matter, new member. Cheers. Dizzy. Cheers. Buying a membership for other people. I love it. Babs 2094. Lana always bringing the receipts. 31 months. Look out. Love it. Over 3 babies. K Schmidt 8 gifted 5 to the transparency memberships. Cheers. K Schmidt always paying it forward in here, like literally, like I swear every single day. Thank you so much, Kay. And then Dizzy 22 months. Yes. Karen Reed just needs to focus on her case and not have any, like, you focus on your case, girl. Go and rock it, Karen. Okay. All the bullshit. The last thing that Karen Reed needed. So until next time.